Welcome everybody to MogTalk. Today is Saturday, July 22nd, 2023. If you guys are unfamiliar with MogTalk, it's a show based around the Final Fantasy XIV community, discussing everything from Savage raiding to Chocobo racing. And today we have a new type of Savage we'll be discussing, which is the Criterion dungeon and its Savage mode. Recently doing a world race for it. We brought on the winning team, Mental Stillness, or at least most of the members from it. Before we go too much further, I'll have you guys introduce yourself, if that's all right, and we'll just go alphabetical order, I suppose. Ashe, you want to go first? Tell everybody who you are and kind of what you do.
Yeah, I'm Michelle. I'm the first range in Mental Stillness. Still played first range in Criterion. We went double range, so
Cool.
yeah.
Sweet. Please.
Hi, I am anime profile picture number 93. And I was doing outside callouts and strats for this.
Typical. All right, Shin.
Tragedy.
Shin, are you muted? Okay, Shin's dead. Sindalf?
Hi, I'm the tank. I eat all the damage downs and still somehow clear.
Okay. Alright. V?
Surprise.
God damn it, Shin. Alright, Shin, go.
Oh, what am I supposed to say?
Who you are and what you do
Say
in the
hi.
group.
Oh, hi, I'm Shin. I'm Mental Stillness' healer.
Okay. Bye.
I'm Vi. I didn't play.
Oh, okay.
These are melee.
Okay.
Normally.
He's usually the melee, but he was doing outside stuff as well.
Okay. And Sophia was also in the group, of course, but was not able to make it today. But yeah, no, this is really awesome to have you guys back on here. For Criterion Savage, it seems so. How do you guys feel about this content, I guess, in general, while you're progging it? Does it feel like, I know we're not getting our ultimate or anything else, but does it feel like at least a minor compensation of getting some level of fun out of Final Fantasy XIV battles?
I am Criterion's strongest defender. I am a huge fan of this content.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you say you're like a huge fan of it, do you mean that because of you enjoy it as just explain, why do you enjoy it? Why are you saying you're a huge fan of it?
I mean, usually like the little like mini fights are almost like mini boss gauntlets, which are relatively quick usually, which I do enjoy. And I mean, it's just usually new fights, and I usually like new fights, especially
More prog is always good.
Yeah.
Even if the name is something different from like Savage or Ultimate.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
you
it's like-
enjoy the gauntlet.
Yeah.
You enjoy the Savage version of this content too, not just the Criterion version. You enjoy the implementation of Savage.
I think Savage is fine, honestly. People will tell you about how there's like no rewards or anything, but the housing items are right there. Okay.
I mean,
Nah, but like,
Free materia.
for real, like I feel like if the material wasn't there, nobody would be complaining about Criterion rewards, and people would just like maybe like stop doing it after a while. But I think it's fine. It's like a challenge mode to get you a title. It's kind of like Ultimate.
right?
People like that, right?
No, yeah, I think so, and I think that you aren't wrong. It feels like the materia is kind of a slap in the face. If they just didn't put it there.
It's funny because I used to say this. I used to say that for ultimate totems, you should be able to trade them in for materia after you get all the weapons. And like they took my advice, but now everybody else hates it. But like you have another use for your books now. It owns. It's just that it's not exactly like the materia. Materia isn't the reward. It's
Mhm.
at most the reward for the book is like the housing item, and the real reward is just like clearing it and the prestige of it.
Right. I mean, that's kind of how Ultimate is. Except for you get really, really good weapons from it that sparkle.
That's
go
fair.
crazy.
The weapons are there.
Yeah. But all right. What about everybody else? How did you guys feel about the prog aspect of the Criterion dungeon?
Yeah, it's fun. This Criterion's different because they try to do something like the type of mechanics that you see. You typically, at least in the 2 sample sizes we have, you won't see them in an 8-man. You're not really going to see them in a 24 or 48-man. And you're not going to usually see them in a 4-man dungeon because they're too hard for that. So they're actually giving us unique mechanics that, because they're side mechanics, they don't pull too many punches. I mean, they kind of do. They still do. But they have like a really interesting balance, especially with this one. Like the last one, there's still a lot of like brain checks in a way, like mental brain things that you have to start constantly looking at, especially in the final boss with the portals and the rotating. That gets a lot of players. This one had a lot of the same themes throughout the whole all 3 bosses. But this time around, I feel like they made them harder, but they didn't punish you as hard for it. You got to damage down, and if you did stuff like stack enough mitt, even in Savage, you could survive messing up the mechanic. Which is something which then it's like, okay, because the DPS check isn't that tight, you don't have to worry too much about being perfect. Even in Savage, especially if you put any kind of mitt on something, you don't have to be perfect. You just need to not royally mess it up. You can be slightly off in a way, and you're okay. And I kind of like that design, because I'm also able to go back in with other players a few days later, and we're not wiping. I mean, we are wiping constantly, but we're not wiping to stuff like portals where there is no recovery if something goes wrong.
Right.
I liked it.
Okay. Shin, kind of coming from a healer perspective, did it feel like enjoyable? I mean, healing dungeons feels pretty much miserable as a healer for most of the time because it's just easy and you're just kind of spamming AoEs the entire time, and trying to keep newer players alive might be a little bit difficult. But going through this content, seeing challenging 4-man content as a healer, did it feel good by any regards?
I think it was kind of standard fare mostly, especially in normal mode. Nothing really spiked damage or made you have to think extra about what you had to do. But in Savage, it's standard Criterion, the mobs hit a lot harder, so you're actually having to heal your tank more. And if your DPS rip threat, that's a problem as well.
I mean, did your group die to mitigation issues often?
We got caught like twice, I think, in Savage.
Yeah, I
With
think
the ghosts in the first boss. Where there were like 2 instances of like damage spread out in the pairs mechanic. And then I forgot what the other one was. I think it was
we
boss
just
2.
It was
it
during
wasn't
like
boss
the.
2.
It was still the first boss. It was like the dynamos with pairs and whatever, chariot pairs.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that too.
The Thunder Beast?
They're both in
Something.
boss 1 then.
That will
After that point, I think I respected more of the mechanic raid damage wise in boss 2 and 3.
Oh, okay.
because that'll almost kill you even in normal mode. I think if you put no shields, I think it does kill you in normal mode.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just running with a bunch of full crafted people as of late.
Well, I mean, you won't always have shields, right? Because you only have if you get like a white mage in there, or like, well, I mean, I guess you'll have.
I mean, you have like the single
Yeah.
shield for a single party member, but like
Yeah.
you have mitt to compensate.
Right.
I'm assuming people are taking a sage or a scholar, because I would not take an astro personally. White mage, I guess, but sage is just it's when you have 4-man content like this, it has to be clearable with both a regen healer and a shield healer.
Yeah, I don't think anything actually one-shots you, because everything's like in the damage is like 2 steps, so it gives the non-shield healers a chance to heal in between damage instances.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the raid wise give you like what, an instant initial damage plus a bleed or whatever, so that's fine for regen healers. And then the spread in dynamos, it's 2-step damage, so you can heal in between hits.
Okay. Clees, Vi, kind of coming out of, well, I guess like the 5th man, 6th man on this. How did it feel kind of going through that content from the outside perspective?
I mean, the main thing about being like outside for Criterion Savage is that you do all your work in normal mode, and then when you go to Savage, you're just kind of sitting there calling stuff since like you're basically
You're a
done, right?
cheerleader.
Yeah, you're cheering.
Okay.
So like it was fun during normal mode, but you know I understand why Savage is just like that, and it's fine. But as like an outside like raid member, it definitely is a little boring since you're just kind of waiting.
Right.
But it's
I mean, in theory, Savage shouldn't take that long.
yeah, in theory
Like we
that should
knew
be the least of it, which it actually was in our group. But
yeah, it was like 90 minutes, I think, and
It was
almost
less
all
than
of it,
that.
and pretty much all of it was like ads phase. I'm pretty sure.
It was
Like ads at the
the
start.
the trash in between Criterion has always been the hardest part. Like people talk about boss 2, boss 3, man, that fucking the windy bridge, that shit is insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun. I really like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. I like it, but man,
Yeah, they did really good with the trash there. I mean, it was completely unexpected, especially with the what is it, the Slender Man at the very beginning. But that was in normal mode too, where he
Yeah.
just kind of wrecked people.
I
Sure.
like how they try to like make the trash a lot more interactive in Criterion dungeons.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of it.
like you had to work around the trash, right? You had to like,
Yeah. It's not really trash.
yeah,
Yeah, we never had to do something like that. I feel like in this game, that I can
Ah.
Every
remember.
one was the same.
Well, the first one we didn't have to kite the enemies around that like square at the start
Brother,
to
The
avoid.
second set with the patrollers.
I guess, but you found a single spot and you kind of just hung out there in the corner. It became a DPS check.
hmm,
You ran to like the top left corner, killed the first one, and you're just like, we need to kill this before the second one appears. Because if you're back there, the third and fourth will not come across your path. So it's completely safe. You're able to AFK brain off once you figure that out.
yeah,
Yeah, but from a progress perspective, you didn't know that.
Yeah,
you were just
pro-
like moving it
true.
around.
True. In Prague,
Mhm.
first few pulls, you did not know that.
yeah. So it seems like they kind of got onto that and just made it a little bit more forced. So even when you're reprogging it, you're gonna have to kind of interact with them. And I think like you're right. It's been sort of, I guess, back in Coils they had trash that kind of was a little bit where you had to work with it, right?
That's
I
the
mean,
World of Warcraft copying days.
it's
Right.
like the trash was. I guess in like T8 you had like the big like area before the boss. T7 you had the elevators. Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Yeah, yeah. The elevators. I mean, they had trash. Just that was one of the bosses of the first Coil, right? What was
wasn't
it?
trash.
Bad
That was a
boss.
fucking arena for speedrunning.
it? Well,
Call
Got
that
to
a
the bottom
travesty.
first, you got the loot from 5.
mm-hmm. Well, I think like it is good that they're actually getting back into it and experimenting with this a little bit too, because that's what we've been sort of missing. I mean, I have personally is how to interact with trash, because back in the old school WoW days, you know, you would trap something, you'd plan out the attack at pulling mobs in like heroic dungeons and stuff. And we've all kind of missed that a little bit. So I guess this is just their way of trying to do that for Final Fantasy here. But yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, at least going through it. You did mention something that was really interesting too. How Savage was only a few hours for you, or not a few hours, 90 minutes. You said, right?
Yeah, I might have
I
been
think it
that
was
long.
1
I don't.
hour.
It
Was it
was
1 hour?
I know it was like the first time we got through the first boss, we killed it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not abnormal. That wasn't abnormal though.
It was.
From what I
It was
heard.
abnormal.
Was it?
To be honest with you, I don't know if it was because the groups did it to themselves or not, but most groups went back into normal and they just sat there and they just practiced the bosses over and over and over again. This took longer than the first Criterion to clear to get the world first on, and most of the time was spent in Savage. The first normal mode was actually cleared in like 3 hours or so, right? And then Savage, it took like almost 9 hours afterwards to get the Savage
that-
clear.
That seems weird to me because SE, we know how their formulas go. Like, we know how the game is done. They don't change things up too much. When they have a way that they do things, they keep doing it. So you kind of knew that Savage was just going to be the same as last time.
No, you didn't. Because you mean it was like 9 hours this race?
No, I'm saying you
Like,
knew it was
Sorry,
going to
yeah,
be
the formula they were going to
completely-
use on this was the same as the formula.
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You knew Savage was just going to be damage. Like, it's going to have more health and it's going to do more damage. So because of that, you can just spend time in normal. And we handled it in a kind of controversial way. It depends on how you're looking at it. Where we just kept pulling the first boss and the second boss until we had them down. Like, until everybody knew what they were doing, and then you move on to the next boss.
Mm-hmm.
There was also a lot more puzzles to solve this time around. The first Savage really didn't have too much in terms of puzzles, like portals, yes, and the final mechanic with the tripwires. But in this one, it felt like we had more to sit down and talk about, solve, do puzzles. But yeah, we still didn't move on until the end.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we took like 6 hours plus to do just normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we cleared normal within the fast 10 hours.
Yeah, we could have cleared much faster.
Yeah, we could have cleared it faster, but I'm stupid. But
Okay.
that's beside the point.
Well, here's the thing. There's two different ways you could approach Prague. Knowing this form, well, there's 3 ways. You can blast through normal and go straight to Savage. That's a bad idea. Don't do that. That doesn't work. You're not going to be perfect because you have to be perfect for Savage. You can then blast through normal and then go back into normal and take each fight one by one. Or you can do the first boss, get that perfect, go to the second, do that, and then go to the third. I think that in terms of learning and solidifying in your brain how to do something, it is best to do the first boss until it's perfect, then move on, then do the second, and then do the third. Because if you do everything and then come back, you're going to be thinking to yourself about the third boss when you're on the first boss. For example, like, the ideas are going to be in your brain. And you don't want that. You don't want the distraction there.
No, I
So,
got you. So you're saying like not even try to clear normal until
You're
you
ready.
fully. Okay.
Yeah, it's like it's a goals thing, right? Like, is your goal world first normal or world first savage?
Mhm.
If your goal is world first normal, obviously you're just gonna skip as far as you can. But we were just going for savage, so
Right.
we decided to just, like, we even held DPS to see all the mechanics of fights to make sure that we had them, since
Mhm.
savage was gonna have more health anyway, so we were gonna see them.
Yeah.
Well, counterpoint though to this is if you keep going the whole way through, you're going to eventually see the final mechanic of the second boss, with the towers and everything. You'd see that, and you could get footage, and then your outside team tries to solve it while you're learning the first boss. Same thing with the third fight. You can do enough damage to skip things, but you could get all the pieces so that your outside team can help solve it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm partly thinking the best strategy to doing this is to do 2 teams. So 2 teams for the same, like, group of players, where one group is like, this is your cracked learning team. They're the ones who are going to stay on the first boss till it's perfect. And then the other team is blasting through to get all the info. So that group is trying to solve everything while you're getting all the consistency down on the previous ones, and they just hand you the strats. That will probably be the easiest way to do it, because then, like, we got stuck on some spots because we were solving. You could
Mhm.
remove that whole thing, and you remove a few hours off of Prague.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
without
No, I
any
mean
of
that
the real
makes
downsides.
sense if you're gonna go like really hardcore on it. I mean, this content's so scary to consider a race, to be honest with you, because 12 hours. That's almost as like the first Savage of a tier, or of an expansion, right? First Savage of expansion that's around the same amount of time it takes. So this is like a valid race to track, but if you clear normal in 3 hours and then you just blast through Savage, shouldn't take that much longer, right? I always expect it to be cleared within the next hour or two. But I guess if you think that it definitely requires a lot of studying and understanding of all the fights before moving forward to Savage, I don't know.
I mean, to be honest, when we cleared and I just went on your stream to like see how behind we were, and we were first, I was like hella surprised. Like, I'm very surprised that we weren't like 3 hours behind or something.
Same.
I feel like this content
But-
is going to eventually be optimized to a point to where it's going to be cleared a lot faster. I don't know. I don't think it's going to keep taking 11 or 12 hours each time.
Well,
Well, of course.
I mean, like the differences between this and regular Savage races. You can make mistakes in regular Savage races,
Mhm.
and you
Yeah.
can't here. So
Well, you can. Remember, you can take a damage down.
says the tank.
Yeah.
No, everybody else can as well.
Coming from the tank, dude.
Everybody
We
else
love
can
to
as
hear
well.
it.
If you just
Already
put up
check the
enough mid.
leaderboard. Damage
I
down
mean, I
leaderboard.
definitely have like 6 on our clear.
The damage down lead report.
I did not. I had a throbbing headache at the end.
Oh.
I did not
One of our
play well
strat-
on our final.
Wait a minute, are
point.
you making
What about our
excuses?
Actually, just tank LB and then tank some hits.
Yeah, for the water mechanic at the last boss, that mechanic is like can really fuck you over. It's one of those mechanics that like very simple to like understand, but sometimes you just get fucking parallel diagonal, and then you just
Mhm.
want to like cry yourself into the water.
Yeah.
So our original strat was actually just tank LB there to make sure that we lived through it.
Was it? I don't remember ever Tenko being that.
We never did it.
I think I
didn't.
heard you call for it when I was going through and hunting through the clips or something. Maybe I can't remember.
Yeah, I definitely called it. Like,
Yeah.
prepared to tank LB or something, but
Oh.
he didn't do it.
I thought that was for the final mechanic.
It was because like it ended up being like not a hard pattern anyways. So
Mm-hmm. Man, that is. It's weird. I have a weird thought on Criterion, at least opinion wise, for how if I think it's good content or not. I think it is good content here, overall. And it was exciting to watch the race, even though we didn't even watch your team for so long because we were just dying to get someone who was actually going into Savage on the stream. So we started focusing the point of views over there, and then all of a sudden you guys get in there and pretty much just kind of go straight through it, which was pretty impressive.
I mean,
But-
yeah, when
Go ahead.
Was it like watching the Savage streams? Was it just a lot of
Just dying.
trash wins?
Just lots of trash pools to start with, right? And then getting to the second boss. I mean, that was the prog, right? It was doing the trash pool, figuring the first trash pool out, and then after that, being able to get your mind in a spot where you remember all the mechanics for the first boss and then beat that boss. And once those two things become consistent, right? Learning the second trash pool, and then you forgot everything about the rat boss, and so dying to the rat boss over and over and over again, and then eventually moving on to the last boss.
I'm
And then some
assuming a
teams
lot of
just
people
completely
were-
stopped and went right back to normal to learn the last boss again.
I'm assuming that people are just wiping like the last mechanic of the rat, maybe.
Um,
Since-
the cross jumps,
Oh, the towers.
the
after
towers.
that.
Oh yeah. I think
Since
so.
I know in normal mode, I think most groups just like skip that. Even now, I have friends who say that that's the enrage mechanic because nobody knows how to do it.
Yep. Anytime I do normal, yeah, and whenever you do normal, everyone says that's the enrage. Like nobody does it. Nobody knows how to do it.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to know it for Savage.
Yeah,
This
but
is-
they
I
don't
think
do
you can
Savage.
skip it. Oh,
Well, I mean that is pretty interesting. I mean, there's like a flip side to this too, right? We had so little communication going into this Criterion Savage. Like we didn't know officially the date until 4 days before it came out, right? It was hinted and like you could calculate it and make sense out of it, and that's the date that I believed it was for months, but I can't really do anything until I know for sure it's that date. And so there wasn't a lot of response about the players and what they think about the content from the previous one. There wasn't a lot of like hype for this or any like, hey, here's the changes we're going to make. There was near zero communication. So there's a chance something would be different and we wouldn't know. So the only people who would know that would be the first people who would go into Savage first, right? So I kind of felt like there was kind of a waiting game where people were just kind of getting used to the bosses and practicing the bosses and everything else, and waiting for another team to go in there and find out the differences if there were any early on, then go in afterwards. Did you guys think about that as part of a strategy at all? Is trying to see if other teams kind of hit those unique, whatever could be their Savage mechanics before going in?
Something kind of funny actually is that when we started Prague, we all decided we weren't going to look at any other streams. And we
okay.
actually did it. Like, we just went through it without looking at any other streams at all. So I had no idea. But honestly, like, I have been playing this game for long enough to like know when Square is going to do the same thing.
It was pretty obvious they were going to do something.
I was absolutely like, I was 99% sure there weren't going to be any changes.
Right.
And if there were any changes, then just deal with it. But
It didn't even cross my mind that it could change.
It's new content. We just don't know, right?
The idea was there in
Square
my
Enix.
mind, but yeah, Square Enix does not change anything. It's a blessing and a curse because it makes things very stale and unpredictable. And not every player realized that. Like when Endwalker happened, and like huge influx of players. I remember I do live letter reviews on stream, and like all these new players are like saying, "Oh, are they gonna do this? Are they gonna do that?" And it's like, yeah, I can tell you're all new players based off of this. You know what you're getting every single patch for the rest of the expansion. It's not changing.
Unless if they announce it, right?
Unless they announce something new, like Criterion.
Yeah.
Then
They promote
like,
their changes. They use it to kind of push, positive things, right? And so
there's no hope in here. It's just, oh, this is what you're gonna get.
Yeah. So it was kind of sad to see that. I was hoping for a little bit more, like some sort of, hey, here's we heard you. We're gonna make a minor change here or something like that. But it was just complete silence.
Well, what did they hear? What was the feedback from the last Criterion? Do you know?
Rewards, mostly rewards, and the repeatability wasn't really there for a lot of players. So I think that was the big thing.
I am actually just kind of annoyed hearing about the rewards, to be quite honest. The rewards.
I think it's funny.
I do think it's funny as well, because here's the thing. If you only care about the rewards, there's only 2 pieces of content in this game. 3, technically, worth doing. Savage Raid, when it's relevant. Ultimate, if you care about the extra materia slot. And relics, yeah. Everything else, 24-man, leveling, roulettes, extreme trials, none of that matters. Because the reward is garbage. It is in the trash. It is not actually good.
Your opinion's bad on that, Sindalf, just so you know.
But no,
there are so many rewards in this game for doing other types of content. You can fish for 100 hours and get a troller title, and that's a good reward to some people. So,
I mean, yeah, I understand what Sindalf is saying. He's talking about character progressions.
Well, character progression. I don't think.
Want.
I think most people don't care. I mean, they would like character progression in there. Like that would make sense, right? Because it's PvE content, and everything else. But there's not even glamour stuff. There's not even like you get at one housing item. There's not like anything. I think is the big issue.
I'm not gonna say there shouldn't be more. But if your main motivation is the rewards, I feel like you need to ask yourself, do you even want to play this game? Or anything else, really. Because you should be playing it because the game's fun. And that's why I do it. It's because I was like, oh, Criterion, new mechanics, new things to learn, new battle stuff to do. That's fun. I want to do it. I was in there this morning because it's fun. If I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't be doing it.
No, I mean,
I feel like
fair.
People need to not be like led by the intrinsic rewards to things and actually do things they enjoy. But if they don't enjoy it, then don't do it.
I do still understand why people want more out of it, because it is like relatively difficult. Not wiping it all through the whole dungeon is hard. Like I fully understand people who are like, oh, maybe it should give like a twine or a coat or like a funny accessory. Or because if the problem here is if it was glamour, people would complain that it's too hard to get the glamour. But But if it's like a mount,
Like excellent.
I mean, but if it's like a title, then everybody's like fine with it.
So, do you guys enjoy the gacha games you play?
I don't play
Yes,
gacha
actually,
because I'm not.
unironically,
Why do
I
you
don't
assume we all play gacha games?
Bro, you think we all have that?
Look at
level
your
of
character
brain worm?
profiles.
I think I'm the only gacha player here. Maybe
Oh,
Bai, I don't
okay.
know. I have holes in my brain.
So yeah, I mean it's the same concept. You do it because you want the shiny rewards out of it, right? Maybe you enjoy it. I don't know. Maybe there's enjoyable ones out there.
I actually was in that situation, and then I told myself I don't like playing this game, so I just quit like 5 gacha games that day.
That's good. That's good. That's a really good first step. Please. That's really good. And you haven't had like the urge to go back or anything, right?
Nope. But I mean, I'm still playing some games, but that's because I genuinely enjoy them.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I
You're telling
am.
me
Go ahead. Go ahead.
if we cleared Criterion and we got anime girl JPEGs, would it be better?
Yes. 100%.
Dude, think about
I
it,
agree.
right?
Put
You
it on your
clear
portraits.
Criterion, and then right there in the treasure chest, you like open the treasure chest right there, and then you just see like the gotcha animation, and then you get
That's
like a
SSR.
3-star shitty like 3-star shitty like Catboy or something, while your healer just got the
Ultra
fucking
rare is like what?
6-star
So-
super rare shrine
thing-
Ultra
maiden
rare
outfit.
Stola.
The problem with that, Clees, is that you know that SC has their new president is kind of into NFTs.
I'm about to mute.
So that could be a thing.
If 14 ever gets like NFTs unironically, I'm quitting.
I think most people, not most people, okay, I think a lot of people who are veterans of the game feel similar to that. And I think they've said stuff, at least in other articles, interviews and stuff, that that's not the direction it would go. But in those situations, right, a lot of the old guard would quit. There'd still be plenty of people playing.
A pretty good job at making sure that anything that's like related to character progression is not really like either like other Mog Station stuff or like
Yeah.
gacha stuff or anything.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the
This
way the
is-
game needs to stay. It needs to still, because it's, again, one of the top MMOs, and they need to hold that for as long as they can because it's a huge moneymaker.
Yeah, because if they
Wow.
don't get rid of that, then the NFT projects that they're gonna like bomb, how are you gonna fund those?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, this is a casual MMO. This isn't a game that requires you to actually spend every day of your life to get your character
I don't
up
wanna
to
s-
either
Go ahead.
best like bit of gear or just to get anywhere really. Like to even stay up to date. Like there's resets every tier. So
Mhm.
they're never gonna add something that's like truly super important, such as character progression, behind content like this, because this is just side content to do for fun. At the end of the day, if you want that, they have that game. It's called Final Fantasy XI. It's a good game. You should play it. But they did it once already. They see where that ends up.
Yeah. You know, I'm doing everything I can to stop like trying to correct you after you say something, Sindalf.
Correct me if I say that's
I
wrong.
mean, Sindalf is like
What was wrong about that statement? For
You
our
said that
viewers?
this is a casual game, and while there's like
It
a
is a
lot of
casual
different
game.
definitions of casual, right? There's lots of different definitions for how you can handle that. I mean, I wouldn't call the people who go really hardcore into housing or people who go really hardcore into creating communities casual players either. But they might be put into that. But when we talk about like PvE and like, you know, in regards of difficulty of the game, I don't even know if I would call that completely casual.
I'll
because
be real with you. The
Go
most
ahead.
casual players I know are raiders who raid log every single tier.
Yeah, those there are casual options for every aspect of the game, but there's more to this game, a lot more to this game than just
Yeah.
PvE, and people
Right.
are really hardcore about it. So
But you are not. It is none of it is a requirement.
nothing in this game is a
That's part of
requirement.
it. Yeah, that's part of what I'm saying is that it's
Yeah.
not a requirement. You can also disappear for a long amount of time and come back. It's like Yoshi P said. You're bored, you don't want to play, go do something else for a little bit, then come back in 2-3 months
Yep.
after a patch.
I mean, main story quest isn't even a requirement. You just gotta you skip all the cutscenes, right? You just skip all,
I
click
do
through
that.
everything. So
I've never watched a cutscene in my life.
all you have to do is click on a couple of required things, and you make it through whatever your goal could be. Literally anything, and that's just like this game in general.
It's true, right? Like, why even bother playing? But like, why even bother doing anything, dude? This is the existential part of the stream.
Yeah.
There is no point in anything you've ever done.
Okay.
Everything you do is meaningless. That's
True.
based as hell, and you know why? Because that means that you can decide to do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
that's true.
It's true. You can.
Use the human power of
Nihilism.
giving yourself. Nihilism is cringe. Nihilism
Yeah.
is cringe.
It
is
is
very cringe.
going really hardcore into it. Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
there's an acceptance of it, right? Is that like, and this is why I had this conversation with a friend, another friend. You guys are my friends, right? And so like with hardcore, and everyone's talking about WoW hardcore and everything else, and doing that content, they're like, man, yeah, all that shit, and then you just die and lose everything. Why would I want to do that? I'm like, it doesn't matter. None of it really matters. It's just you're experiencing that and experiencing the slight adrenaline rush you get from if I die, it's all over.
You do it because you want to.
Yeah, and so it's really not that big of a deal. Like when you're playing a game, I voice this all the time. You do what you want to do because it's fun. And Criterion for this moment when it's released is extremely fun for you guys, right? And so for other people, it's not. But there's such a huge variety of interest in Final Fantasy XIV that I feel like it captures so many different people. But they do all mix together because some of those interests in progressing through the main story quest do line up and kind of put you together. But that's only in like experts, right?
The one universal constant is tombstones.
Yeah, tombstones, just to get gear so things are a little bit easier to go through story stuff and see stuff and everything else, and that's really it. You know, even seeing and this going a little bit off of Criterion, we'll bring this back in a second, but even while doing Party Finder and seeing people within the first couple of weeks paying what was it, 175 million out to get all the loot from P12S, it's pretty intense to me because I don't know what that loot would really do for you unless the only thing I can think is that they don't have a static group and they want to get good parses. But how do you get good parses without a static group? Or how do you go to those goofy websites and everything without like a dedicated group of people? And so
Some people like using it to like show off to their friend, because everyone's got a different reason. Like, okay, this was a common thing back when you were allowed to do guild sales in the game for like content, but SE said no to that in Endwalker.
I mean, you still kind of are.
You can't do a name. Well, you can if they.
You have to be the person offering now. Yeah.
You can't advertise a name anymore.
Mm.
But like back then, like at least players who would buy it, they would do it because, oh, I don't have time. They think to themselves, I don't have time, but I have a lot of gil. I'm a crafter, so I focus on making gil, so I should be able to buy my way through. Or some people
it's just
have
glamour
really
purchases at that point. I mean, what are you
yeah,
using the gear
it
for?
It makes their dungeons faster. I don't know. Some people use
Yeah.
it to brag to their friends, like they're really shitty about it. They're like, "Oh, look at me! I cleared the fight," even though they really,
Right.
they kind of did.
Honestly, sometimes
They're
it just
just-
comes down to big number good.
Yeah.
I mean, that is true as well. You see what people are willing to pay in other games for like just doing a little bit more damage. That's worth a ton to people.
And apparently for sure that is. And then they'll never do it again, unless if they're trying to do it to prove something with damage numbers or whatever you have out there. But bringing it back into it, that's what they enjoy in the game, and they're willing to put all this extra work into doing that. And that's their goal. Criterion Savage, the rewards from that could be what other people enjoy in the game.
That's
right?
fair.
And so
It's like
but it's materia.
It's like Criterion Savage feels like I guess like an end goal, almost the same way like Ultimate feels like an end goal. Like you basically like if you want to do Ultimate, you raid Savage for Ultimate, etc. etc. Criterion feels like it's like in the same like vein as that, like it's an end goal. But I think people are kind of like not treating it like an end goal. Because most people, you're not gonna have like your Criterion static that you go with every every Criterion dungeon that comes out or stuff like that as compared to like a raid static.
Mm-hmm.
Since you can usually like either like pug Criterion or whatever. So I fully understand why people would be expecting a reward like that.
Right.
But I think like Square Enix has designed Criterion to be like an end goal.
Yeah.
Like you really need to be fully geared out. You need to be fully like you need to be fully geared out with like all the other content of the game, and then you go into the Criterion Savage.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think I do think you're right on that too. I just think they should offer some level of extra. I mean, it's just something in there. The housing item's okay. It's a little bit weird. I mean, if you think about it, when you're doing, let's say we're doing the solo, like when I was doing a solo run of Eureka Orthos, right? The point is to do it. That's it. You get a title at the end of it. That's your big thing, is you get a title. But it was all about just doing it and succeeding.
Sacks, though.
Huh? Yeah, you got sacks. That's the other part. So while I was doing it, I did get some level of reward and a gotcha chance at getting something nice from it as well. If they added some system like that to it, it could make it more enticing for players as well.
It's actually kind of fucked up that the Savage version doesn't drop any coins.
Hmm.
Yeah, that part actually is.
That is pretty fucked up.
It should drop 8.
Ooh. Just put the variant rewards into Criterion.
I mean, that'd be good too.
Yeah. And remove variant.
I mean,
What the?
Ooh.
variant is there for story.
You're just
Variant's there for
trying to
story.
be controversial now on
Yeah.
purpose.
The only reward that should come from variant is story. That's it. That's it. I don't think it should have any more than that. I don't know if that's controversial or not, but that's I don't know.
I mean, I think
It is there for the story.
the way variant is fine. I like variant. It's something different.
Yeah.
I do wish that like the secret boss of variant was somewhere in like Criterion, but you know, it'd be how it be.
A
That is
Criterion
something that
secret
should
boss?
also, yeah, 100%. I don't know why they don't make that the Savage boss, the Savage end boss. I mean, it'd be frustrating as hell and take weeks maybe to clear.
It'd be pretty annoying, yeah. Just get a brand new boss at the end if you wiped it.
But
That's a 30-minute like fight then.
That's like ultimate
That's-
tier.
Well, no, it's already longer than Ultimate. It's like 22, 23
Yeah, but it's
minutes.
not like as like demanding as ultimate.
yeah,
It's not. I mean, it's a similar consistency check in some ways, but
I get that too, but maybe I'd like there to be some level of secret boss in there. I do feel like
agree.
it makes it kind of stale, and that's the other part, is going into Savage does feel stale overall. I mean, the
no.
trash great, but they need something else in there as well.
You
with
just
the fights.
remind me of what they someone said during like the Final Fantasy 16 interviews.
What was that?
They didn't want to put like secret content or optional content in the game that like 99% of players wouldn't be able to access. And I feel like a secret boss in the Savage version of Criterion is along that line of thinking that they wouldn't do.
See, now that is a discussion.
I mean, they do
Yeah.
put like a second boss in the last floor of a Savage raid that you don't see in normal.
Yeah,
That's
is
a big one, right?
That's
Yeah.
a huge one.
And hey, if you wanna do the boss, it's there in variant too.
And I bet you anything, if they added extra stuff into Savage like they do the Savage raids, and they have the new phases in Ultimate that you only see when really like hardcore groups get there, there'd be so much attention on the game to see groups get to those points and to see what that is, right? And so it's just you're basically developing for PR.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing Ultimate does sometimes.
And so it's not a bad thing to do, to create content in the game that pushes for, I guess, some sort of PR out there, right? And trying to market the game a bit. Ultimate turns out to be a marketing tool. Savage 8-man, a marketing tool in the end as well, because if they don't add that extra part to the end of the fight, it would be a lot less exciting. I'll tell you right now, there'd be so many less people following the world race if there wasn't a second phase or a transition of some sort.
Like
at
the
end of
Ren
last boss.
cutscene
Yeah.
in E8. Yeah.
Yeah, E8.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that got a lot of
Yeah.
people's attention, right?
Yeah.
I still like in my YouTube channel. You have like the T transition is like 200k views, and then you have like the clear VOD, and it's like 50k or something.
Yeah. Everyone wants to see a transition. It's a huge deal. And with Ultimate, you have step by step, and it's just nothing but transitions. Basically, it's not nothing but transitions, but like everything is new and only accessible to good players. So you watch it on Twitch, to see all of that new stuff coming out, and to see the new models, and to see you even got a cutscene in the. They've never done a cutscene in an Ultimate before, have they?
I mean, define cutscene.
Cutscene as in you can't move. You're watching something that is considered a cutscene
T?
on the screen.
T's a cutscene.
T?
Does T have that too? Oh
Oh,
yeah,
you
T
just
does. T does. T. That's right. I forgot about it. T had a cutscene.
Yeah, you're right.
Every
Top
Ultimate has like a
Top has a
cutscene.
cutscene too, actually.
No, that's
Yeah.
what I was meaning. Top did
Oh,
that
okay.
recently,
Okay,
and so I was trying to remember if T did that as well, because that would be the transition, right, of Savage, relating those together and everything else. So yeah, I forgot about T, but I think throwing those in there, you put that on YouTube, of course everybody's going to fucking watch it. Clear, whatever. They're just wanting to see what that the hard to see stuff is, and they'll see it first on Twitch. So
if Criterion was like that, and there was like a secret boss at the very end, I
Mhm.
think at that point it might just be like too frustrating for me. So I don't know if I would do it.
maybe.
But I mean, there's gonna be someone who tries it.
I'd do it.
People would do it. I don't know if NA players will be able to take off that much time in a year. But I mean, just looking at this at the world. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say just be a neat. Don't have to take time off
Simply
then.
do not work.
Yeah, that's
exactly,
true.
don't work.
That's true. Or make the game your job. All right. That's the other thing you could do. Hey. Anyways, looking at this right now, this expansion, if we consider Criterion as part of the world races, which I am now, 100%, we have 2 that have gone through and have been at least up to like 10-ish hours before we see it clear. So it's now in the world race category of, hey, it makes sense to do this. We've had Savage, 8-man Savage, Ultimate, 8-man Savage, Criterion, Ultimate, 8-man Savage, another Criterion, and then we'll have one more Criterion before the expansion ends. This is the most loaded world race expansion I think that we've ever had in the game. And I don't know if this is going to be something that they continue to do throughout the next expansion as well. But that would be pretty insane as well if they're going to do 3 8-man raids, 3 Criterion Savages, and 2 Ultimates in an expansion. Is that
Probably not.
You don't think so?
I think we're gonna. I think at the end of the day, like as much as I like Criterion, so many players didn't do it. It's no Boja, it's no Eureka.
Well,
Like people loved Boja
they
and
did.
Eureka because it gave you an alternative form of leveling. The
Mhm.
fates were pretty fun. You could do them with all your friends. It did have the duels if you were into that. Then they
Mhm.
had the content at the end, and also the 48-man.
You know, now that I think about
only
it,
a subsection of the group did it.
What-
I think people want more stuff like Boja.
is there an
rather than
alternative
this.
form of leveling right now in this expansion?
Don't think so. No.
Throws.
Orthos?
Deep dungeon, yeah. Deep dungeon, yes.
Deep dungeon.
I guess you
is
could consider
one.
that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, deep dungeon's actually kind of huge for leveling, but I think it kind of sucks for 80, 90.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a fast way to level. It's not an efficient way to level, but it's something you can do while you're doing the content.
Square Enix keeps track of how the percentage of players that do content and what percentage of players is successful.
Mm-hmm.
They showed that they do this way back in Heaven's Ward when they released Creator, and I believe they said our percentages of like clear rates are around where we want them to be, meaning they have to keep track of this. They
Mhm.
paid attention in Gordius and Midas, and they found it to be lower than they wanted, because there's going to be a group of players trying it, the group not trying it, and then they want a certain amount to fail. They don't want everybody to pass, but they want a certain amount to clear. And if they're keeping track of those numbers and they're using that for their metrics, they're probably looking at Criterion and saying, yeah, not a lot of people do this.
The Savage one.
Unfortunately. Well, not just Savage, normal as well.
You think so? Normal is not getting that much
Yeah.
attention as well?
Normal's not getting that much attention
I mean,
either.
to be fair, when was the last time you went into another subterranean, whatever it's called?
Right
Yeah,
before
the
this
previous one.
Yeah, like at most it's like right before this one to like practice, right?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I think the timing of this was pretty poor as well. So every like point patch, like solid point 1, point 2, point 3, should have some kind of difficult content that goes in line with it.
Okay.
This one already has Savage, which takes up a lot of player base. Ultimate takes up less player base overall, I would think. Savage, people are still trying to clear it. I'm still trying to clear P12S. So like, there's a lot of people out there who are still trying to clear that.
Okay, let me put it to you this way, Frosty. In 4 weeks from now, are you going into the normal mode?
Maybe. I don't know.
In 4 weeks from now, would you be going into Boja?
Yes,
you would.
yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yes,
mean,
you would.
yeah.
That's my point. Is that
Yeah.
there's a low percentage of players actually doing this. There's a group that'll do it like immediately when it comes out, but afterwards it falls off hard. Which means that those mounts are gonna be worth a lot of gil.
Yeah. I
Go
do
in there
think
and
that
get
was a pretty big miss because a lot of people want to level up their jobs and they want a fun way to level up their jobs too, right? So now that we kind of brought that up, yeah, that was kind of a miss, I think, Square Enix on the ending part of this. I think a lot more people will do the next Criterion though. I will say that at least. The 6.5.5 Criterion, because nothing else is going to be out around that time, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be nothing there
Yeah.
as far as I know.
What I'm
Even-
hoping. Go ahead.
Usually when it starts reaching the end of the expansion, even more casual players who just raid log hardcore or they just do stuff with their static, like they're just weekly reclears, nothing else. They start getting bored, and I've even heard from a lot of them, they always want to do something more near the end of the expansion. Like they want something to do.
Yeah.
This is perfect for that. Because it also takes only 4 people, and if you're BIS gear, like you can pretty much take like 2 people with full gear and then 2 people with crafted, and you'll clear comfortably.
Right.
You won't even realize the DPS check existed.
Yeah. It's going to be.
So you get to have fun.
Yeah, it should be pretty good timing. This one just felt a little bit forced in there at the moment.
Well, it was week 7, right? Well, technically it dropped on
Week
week
eight.
8.
Drops
so
on
people
the
didn't
start of
even
week
have
8. Yeah.
Yeah.
BI unless you split cleared or like really did your loot properly. You did not. Not everybody had BIS.
Yeah. So it does feel
I
kind
was
of
running a
goofy.
side group just to get people BI like gear for this.
Oh. Yeah. Man. I mean, technically, you need 655 to get into most party finder groups for P9S now. So, the gear requirements are already pretty high for a lot of things.
I saw that. That person's insane.
People are insane. The people literally on their reclears don't want to do limit cut 2. And I can't believe we're already at that point to where people just want to skip mechanics instead of learn how to do them. But I don't know.
I mean, you're already at that point with Criterion.
Yeah.
The final mechanic on the second boss, people don't know how to do it. Like everybody, it's literally in rage. You can try to do it, but you'll fail pretty much every time.
I mean, let's talk a little bit about these bosses individually too. I think that would be a good idea. We've talked kind of broadly on a couple of different topics here, but the bosses overall, they seemed like they were just kind of nice, enjoyable. But I mean, the last 2 bosses, we almost thought we were going into some sort of Ninja Turtle thing, right? Got the rat for the second one, Shredder for the third one.
It didn't even cross my mind.
I can't
Me
think of the
neither.
first one, but yeah. The first boss, what are some unique things about that in just mechanic design that you guys enjoyed while doing it?
The Toho, what? The bullet
The
hell?
bullet hell.
Like the little
Yeah,
bullet
I really
hell
like
is
that.
something they don't
And
usually do.
then
with
at the
Rokkon.
end, they expand on it with making like randomized sizes. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
That was a very fun part.
Yeah, and it's just
Although
active. You just have to keep moving, right?
Not exactly.
No, you can move into another line and you get owned.
Hmm.
It actually the sad part is like if you realize what happens when you just stand still for a while and then watch it go off slowly, you kind of realize you can bait a bunch of them and then move instead of just panic dodging.
Mm-hmm.
It's more
Yeah.
fun to panic dodge, but you can
Right.
actually
You
realize
you
can
you
stay
see it
still.
a lot more when they're thicker and they're less lines. You start to see like it's like 6 lines and then it like stops, and then it's like another 6 lines and it like stops.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you guys could kind of Mario Kart around and maybe get them baited and have safe
I
spots.
mean, I'll be real. I still don't know how they're baited.
I think
Yeah, like people say they bait on players and people say they bait on the other clouds. I still don't know.
they're definitely on players because the middle can get covered, and then suddenly, as people start moving outwards, the middle starts opening up in certain cases, except for a few that cleave across the room.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think
I
it's like a
mean,
mix of both, like our players and other clouds, possibly.
eh,
I don't really know.
Yeah.
don't
I mean-
think about it too much. It's just fun to
Yeah,
dodge.
Just dodge. Yeah.
Just have fun with it.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. With
Any
the
fight in the game where
Mhm.
there's stuff on the floor to dodge constantly and you're always moving is a great fight every time.
oh, Panic Raider.
Without fail, it is always good.
Do you like P1 a lot in
No,
top?
that's different.
Oh, okay.
Panic Raider is not that bad of a mechanic.
He's talking
The
about
tethers
something
and
like
towers is awful.
Barbarisha, you know.
Oh,
like
Barbarisha. Yeah.
That's it. Everybody loves that. That's such a good fight. There's always
mean-
something that you're doing, even if it's like chaotic things that just have a ton of AOE's in the floor. Like they're fun to execute,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they feel very dynamic sometimes because of the chaos that other players cards with it.
Right. Right.
And it's not always fatal if you get hit, so you don't feel extremely frustrated.
Right. Yeah. No, Barbarisha was really fun. I think for the people who enjoyed doing a little bit more challenging content or a little bit more keeping yourself awake content. But for the average farmer, I would think that they might have not enjoyed it as much.
I mean, if you're like farming this boss, it's kind of like whatever. You just
Mhm.
dodge it.
Yeah.
But the rest of the first boss is
Mhm.
kind of standard.
He jumps through some
the-
fire rings. I believe I remember right. Some like
Clouds and
No.
like explosions.
yeah. Well, I mean the lion jumps through 3 rings
Yeah,
and then
the
explodes.
lion
Yeah.
rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the
Yeah.
clouds and the explosions that I think that a lot of people know that fight for. The one where it's like either a bunch of small explosions, medium, or large. And those just the large one, no one knows how to dodge. Force damage down mechanic. It's significantly harder than every other pattern.
It's funny because like I
Bruh.
feel like every different person I talk to says that one like a different one is the force damage down mechanic. Like I've heard people say the second one's impossible. I've heard people say actually no, I haven't heard anyone say the first one's impossible. The first one's pretty easy, but I've seen 2 and 3 a lot.
Mm.
I find it interesting that SE had created a mechanic where it feels imbalanced between the various different patterns. And I think that's partly because it's this optional side content and it's 4-man. It's going back to like the old kind of roots that they used to do, which was just kind of do something fun. It doesn't have to be balanced
Mm.
in a way. You just make it interesting because when you throw a little bit of balance out the window, you can start doing fun and interesting things. As long as you accept that it's not always going to be even in difficulty across the board.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of want them to do that overall with a lot of things in the game, even jobs. I'd rather them all be completely unbalanced. But
That would be. I would like that in some ways, but that leads to a lot of you were playing in Heaven's Ward, right?
I played Paladin
You
in
were a
Heaven's Ward. Yeah,
paladin.
yeah.
Yeah, so you should know how.
I
what
did
happens to
mechanics.
you.
You know?
Yeah, but you're
So-
not joining my party
If-
because you're
if
literally
there
trolling.
was-
Oh my god, you
You're
were
If
there.
there was a
literally trolling.
boss they released that did like mostly physical damage, you probably still wouldn't bring the paladin.
Yeah, but
still.
because you'd run out of TP in 2.5 minutes.
Hey man.
But but hey, the idea is there.
Yeah. I'd like there to be like if they're gonna start like releasing more and more jobs, start like making the stuff like unbalanced overall, because it's pointless to just make 5 photocopies of the same thing, and just add on different graphics for the abilities, right? And so I do hope that at some point, we start saying, well, we don't bring in this job, or we don't bring in this job, or whatever else. But that's like the the non-casual suck it up
one
side
tricks
of me.
have
I
no
guess.
rights.
What?
If you one trick in this game, please play another job.
Yeah.
No, I refuse.
Just play another job, right?
Yeah, but I
Whoever
mean,
is the
it's fine
strongest
if you
tank.
stay within your own role. In fact, I think that's what like they should do, right? This game where you can literally freely swap between classes in one character.
Mhm.
Just make it so that every role, like every class in a different role, excels at something different. Like, what if like Bard was fucking banger in like AoE or 2 target, but was like garbage everywhere else. But
Yeah.
like Machinist was like banger single target, or
Yeah.
something like that.
I mean, and then like in certain fights, you wouldn't bring him for other. It would just be
Yeah.
fun. I mean,
We
to
don't-
me,
Well,
it would still
there'd be the
work.
variety.
It would still
It-
work and be clearable. That's the idea. But it would be more clearable with the other job.
That's what gear is for.
Yeah.
That would make sense, please, if we had more fights. But when you only have 4 fights, if a raid every...
I mean, we have
8
4
weeks?
we have
No,
an
not 8 weeks, 8
ultimate, we
months.
have Criterion. Like,
We
I feel like
do
at
not-
this point,
We do not have enough fights to justify that kind of design.
5
if they had
fights.
more,
Savage,
you
by the
could.
way.
No, if you had like a 10 boss tier, if you had something like a WoW tier, yeah, you could probably do that. But with what they currently do now, you can't do that. It's too
like
unbalanced.
I've always seen like roles in this game, like jobs in this game as like glorified like trees, and the actual like job is the role itself.
So you're thinking like skill trees.
Yeah,
but
like for example,
paladin is a
like tank in my
Yeah.
game, like if you're a tank player, you are playing tank.
Mm.
Like you like Gunbreaker and Paladin and Dark Knight. Like to me, it's like if you can't like play all 3 of those, like I'm gonna be, or at least like be able to like compensate for like another tank in the party, right?
Yeah.
And this guy would hate me because I don't know how to play Scholar.
Well, here's
You
the
would hate
thing
me
too.
because
I mean-
I don't do that. I play just Warrior and Dark Knight.
When you're,
I mean, it's like
Mhm.
not like that, but like like if you had like Paladin be like a skill tree that was like more around like off tanking or whatever, which is kind of what it is right now.
Is it
Mhm.
though?
And I mean, like right now, if you're a new player, you're starting out leveling up, and you get to max level, and you're like, you could buy, other jobs leveled up. They're whatever, already pre-leveled for like $20-$25, whatever. But if you're like, no, I don't want to spend money, they kind of give you semi pre-leveled jobs already, right? And so you can start off Sage at level 70. You can start off a couple of different jobs pretty early and only have to go through a handful of levels to get to max. And so I think if they do that stuff, it'd be perfectly fine. It does change the point of view a little bit. That jobs that just want to, like, I work 90 hours a week. I only have 2 hours a week to play the game. I can only play 1 job. Well, that's fine. You're just probably not going to do really hardcore content if you get unlucky. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, we could take like a year on this topic.
Anyways, yeah. Back to Criterion.
Yeah. Second boss, which comes out and is the Bard rat.
The Rat Jam boss.
Yeah. Rat Jam. Perfect, by the way. What about that fight? Tell me what you guys think about that fight mechanically that made it pretty interesting for you.
Required a lot more actual solving and a little more planning to make it like fully consistent.
Hmm.
I think the second fight's probably like the one that we spent the most on, like figuring out mechanics. I want to say,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
like there was like the towers.
I'd agree with that because X's and the towers combined with
Yeah,
the jumps, it's a lot
and
of
the jumps was there too. There was a
probably
lot of like
execution and getting the strat right for everyone involved.
Yeah, because
think,
like our jump strat was also very tight.
yeah, I think second boss, like the strategy you come up with, like you really want to have good strategies for the second boss because I think that's what impacts you the most during Savage.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Would
Like,
you?
like we originally had like a tower strat that was like kind of bad, but it worked. And like halfway through it, I think Vi came up with something that was like a lot easier, and we just decided to swap it. I think that was like one of the best things we could have done. Something that was like, we decided to like learn a new strat instead of like sticking with an old strat, just so that we could have an easier time when it came to like Savage or something.
Mm-hmm.
So what? Pi, can you explain like what they were doing and what you changed it to? Do you remember?
Well, it's I believe it's very similar to what most other groups are doing, except we just we drop the two towers where the differing towers are instead of like on the same side.
Hmm.
And that just gives a lot more leeway for a lot more time for people to adjust if need be.
Mm-hmm. I think we actually, if I remember right, sorry, I'm trying to remember back to that day. It was kind of a blur for a bit. But I believe we cut to your guys' point of view at some point after watching our team kind of execute that, and they failed and everything else. And one of the highlights was how you guys were doing the towers. It seemed like it gave you a lot more room to work with. It was a lot easier to manage them.
Yeah.
I remember those
What-
comments we made. Yeah.
What I know, a lot of groups, I don't know what people did in Prague, but I know it's been linked to me a bunch, is a strategy where you do it north and south, your towers, and you like go the opposite side of your first tower.
Mm-hmm.
You drop it there and then you run across. I think about that. I'm like, I don't understand why this works in the first place, but it just does. But it has the first problem of you have to run across the room.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I don't entirely get how that's supposed to work and how that is consistent across all the different patterns that you can get. So maybe sometimes people are like afraid whether or not they're going to end up in the correct tower and at the start for their first thing. And that's something that like with Vi's strat made it very nice, is it was clear where you are going at the very start to get into your first tower.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody else can do the rest of the mechanic. It's just we have to end up in that tower. And our first original strats, where we had on everything on like the four corners, north, south, east, west, that worked. And we could drop everything in a way, but you had to end up in one of your two towers at the north or like south position for like red and blue. And that dance that players had to do was hard. And it was also having to run across the room. Whereas with what we ended up doing, it was a very short distance. And that makes it much easier to execute in the long run. It was also a consistent movement every time.
Yeah, what Vi added was like uniformity in all of the movements.
Yeah, we basically had the
One
initial
movement.
tower placements were
Yeah.
hard assigned, and then we just had to swap if our role partner was the same color, and that made it easy.
Okay.
The setup is the hard part of that, because once you do the setup, you can just resolve the towers normally in the order of your debuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we executed it the first time successfully in Savage. Like we got it. We got
cleared that pull as well. I think
Yeah,
that was
we
the only
cleared that
time
pull.
the only time we did it successfully.
Yeah, it took us a while to get it, and then once we had it and we like did the first half of the mechanic, which was the positioning, we're just like, we can probably figure this out in Savage. Which we wiped the first time we tried it, and then said, oh, okay, that's how it works, and then we
In
did it the next time
Savage?
and got it done. Yeah,
we
we
did.
wiped to it.
No, we didn't wipe to it in Savage.
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
100%. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm pretty sure you guys
Because,
wiped it. Yeah.
Because someone starting with S didn't stand the third tower.
There's like
right.
3 of us. And
Could
it's
be
probably
any one of
I'm
us.
pretty sure it was me.
I
Because
need to be more clear.
No, I'm pretty sure it was me because there's the. Do you dodge the waffle on the ground first, or do you
Oh,
go into
yeah,
the
and then I
tower?
was like,
That's
I
what it was.
told you
yeah.
to dodge the first one first. It's like, oh my god.
I
That was a
dodged.
stupid
Yeah,
dodge. That was a stupid wipe.
it was dumb. That was my bad.
Mhm. It's
But
okay.
yeah, once we saw it once, we were like, oh, okay, this is easy, and then we just did it again.
We saw it once. We saw it in normal mode. You're coping.
We saw it in normal mode, but we never actually really did
I
it.
did. I made a huge point to
It's
say,
true.
go into the tower, dodge the first. As
You
soon
see,
as we
this-
saw like the initial strat where we thought we had to like do the tower and then do the dodges, but we fixed that once we went through the mechanic properly.
See, this exact conversation we're having now is exactly why you stay in normal mode until you're ready.
Yeah, I mean,
Because you don't want to be 20 minutes in to the final phase of the final thing and then wipe. It's like wiping to Alpha Omega at the end, and that just feels really bad. Because now you have to go back through the whole thing, do it again, and that's already its own journey to get there.
yeah. Well, I mean, going on that a little bit too, you just have to put in the faith that Square Enix has made the Savage version, or made it difficult enough for it to be actually really hard to do it all in one go.
Like, honestly, like I feel like we didn't even think about what if it's different. Like that didn't cross anyone's mind,
It
for
crossed
better
my
or
mind,
worse.
but I was just like, nah, there's no way.
I I didn't even think about like, oh shit, what if it's something different? Like that was not a thought I had. In
They
my
don't
brain.
have the resources to do it. Small indie company.
Something like that, yeah.
Well,
FF16 bombed. It's all over, etc., etc.
Well, our only concern there was like, what if we skip this mechanic in Savage 2? We just wasted.
That
like,
was
3
the
hours.
big
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that was in my
Yeah,
mind.
That was a
little bit.
legitimate fear.
Right. I mean, like that's the risk you take with doing, the practicing before going into it. And you just have to balance, and this is again an interesting dynamic of the world race because this is not something you deal with in 8-Man Savage or Ultimate, and so it gives a whole different perspective of how to approach this.
I mean, the optimal thing you do is you boot up twitch.tv/MogTalk and see if the people in that group are skipping the mechanic.
Well, I mean, like the people on the broadcast for the twitch.tv MogTalk have actually no clue what the fuck's happening. So you'd have to go to one of the player stream, yeah. Find out. But you could find the player stream there.
Yeah.
So half the time, I'll let you know, especially in like the third fight, everyone was just sitting there like they have no clue how those clones turn.
Oh yeah.
The big thing is
Firework
like
from the
you
outside.
did we for a while.
It's like you guys are pretty good at highlighting who is like the furthest in, so I don't have to have like 7 tabs open.
Yeah.
It works out great. The commentary's great, but I ignore it usually. I'm sorry.
No, it's fair. I mean, it's completely fair. And sometimes the commentary gets off the beaten path, especially in the later part of Prague, in which the Savage clear, like after normal was cleared, it is just 9 hours of waiting for people to figure out Savage and go through it and hope someone gets in there and hope you see something new. And so you just talk about fucking anything. And that's just literally
That's when you
commentary.
go to the nihilistic part of the stream again.
Oh yeah. But I mean that's just literally World Prague commentary. There's
Yeah.
If you go to like the WoW race, they're talking about Cheetos, they're talking about like whatever the fuck, they could think of off the top of their head. How they like warm hugs. I don't know what they're talking about. Like
Flaming hot or regular?
warm, not hot
Oh,
hugs.
he means
Yeah.
No, how do
flaming
you-
hot or regular Cheetos.
Oh, hotter. Oh, yeah. I mean, then that becomes a whole debate, and that's like that takes up an hour of conversation and throughout the entire broadcast, and that's how Pilk was made, right? That was how that whole thing came up. It was just like, holy crap, we want to be here, and there's people who want to watch this stuff, so let's just talk and just do what we do and talk about whatever is at least enjoyable for us to talk about or have fun with it, because that's all you can really do. You can't. It will be boring to be being overly hype about seeing the same thing for 3 days is the worst idea you could really do.
It would be really funny though.
I mean, I guess it would. P5 of top was the biggest filler time that we had in any kind of broadcast ever. It was just days.
Did you hate P1 as much as the rest of the community did?
I don't. You know what's funny about that? And it was funny about watching. And again, we're on this tangent here for a second. But what's funny about watching Prog like that is you don't see P1 as much as the other groups see P1. Because once someone dies, you go and see who's already past P1. Go to their point of view, right? You're always looking at the point of views that are not on P1 anymore. And so you're trying to toggle and try to get it on screen with the people who are the furthest ahead. In that moment. And so, for example, with Criterion, whoever dies and wipes, you look and see what's the furthest person is in Savage at that moment, and you go to their point of view. And you just kind of toggle back and forth, and as long as not all teams are progging at the exact same time, on the exact same part, it works out pretty well. But yeah, as a commentator, P1, I think for top was kind of funny because we're all like, guys, it's been a whole fucking day and no one's gotten past P1. What are they doing? This looks simple.
So, question about that. About
Sure.
I don't know if Sophia had on his stream, like his monitor. But when you moved over to us, did you see us like reviewing footage, drawing pictures, stuff like that? Could you see that?
No, I don't think so.
Was streaming that, no.
No,
Okay.
I wish.
I think we just had game capture turned on OBS because it was like I just put this personally. I put the stream up and I just changed nothing. And I said, "Yep, here you go. This is."
You just turn on
it is
stream
what
and
it
then
is.
just forget about it.
And forget about it.
Yeah.
Which sounds awful from a viewer standpoint, but we're like in the background. We were reviewing footage, drawing pictures, things like your standard prog fare.
Yeah.
Because you kind of needed to for this, in order to get everything right.
Well,
Especially when you start getting into the second and third boss that needed to be done.
so I mean that makes that's kind of the difference between different streams, right? With World Prog, and this is the first time you guys have streamed anything that's considered World Prog at all.
We streamed Criterion last time, but there wasn't really like a big event for it.
It was just me.
Trolled last Criterion. I trolled last Criterion.
Right.
Giggle hard. I actually thought after last Criterion, I was like, am I so washed up at this point that I need to quit?
Tragedy.
That is honestly my feelings at the end of that. I wanted to cry. I was so bad.
Anyways.
Alright.
So I had my redemption arc.
Sounds like my standard top prog night. But anyways, when we're talking about streaming this and going through it, this is like you did it for the last Criterion, you're doing it for this one. And does it make you feel like more inspired to maybe possibly stream more prog in the future, or less inspired?
Really,
Not really?
I
It
don't
really.
think it matters because
I think it's just
with how our
if
stream
they-
went, no one was watching because we were on
Yeah,
normal mode the
you-
entire time.
Yeah, it's true.
Fair.
Yeah,
Fair.
and it wasn't a good viewer experience either.
But yeah, it was like I don't think this really changed anyone's opinion. I'd have to ask again, but
I mean, the thing is, like, even if you guys were on the screen the entire time, and you're right about, like, you put it to the side and you just forget it's there. You just have it up. Because it is a distraction if you're looking at chat. It is a distraction if you're trying to entertain the people who are watching. The idea is that it's just there for the people who want to watch and see the prog and see that visibility into it. Unfortunately, again, Criterion, after you get through to normal mode, there's nothing new. There's nothing interesting to see. So you have 9 hours of nothing interesting, basically. Outside of are they going to clear? And that's literally it the entire time.
Do you think the experience will be different if people are doing the thing that we do? So like you won't see anything new until we actually figure something out.
Say that again. Sorry, I don't feel it. Go ahead.
Do you think the viewer experience will be different if people are doing the things that we do? So like we actually don't clear the second boss and we don't see the third boss until we actually figure the tower. That's what we did.
So I
So
think
it took a long time to actually see the third boss and see something new.
I think
Because it's better, I think, right, than like watching people just wipe the Savage like a bunch
Thing
of
is,
times.
there's
Nothing
always
new.
going to be a group
Yeah.
that goes into Savage, I think.
Yeah. There's always going to be, and the point of view will always be on the person who's the furthest ahead for the chance of seeing something new.
Right.
Gotta
and
do it
so-
for the clout.
Yeah. Right. And so I think if I heard this example just the other day. I forget who brought it up. I think it was someone in my raid. But with the WoW races, they start off with all the teams they grind gear. That's all they're doing is just grinding gear the entire time, right?
It splits, yeah.
Yeah, but then there is a team called I forget what it was called. There's a certain team that's like the cleanup crew, alarm clock crew, something crew. I don't know, the early shift. I think it was called the early shift. And they don't get gear. They just prog as hard as they can, as fast as they can, through what they can before getting any gear to go further on. And so they're going to get the first boss world first, second boss world first, third boss world first, things like that. But they won't win the race in the end. But people will be watching them because they would probably want to see what those fights look like, right?
It's a goals.
Yeah. And it will switch over to the other teams as those other teams start to reliably get further on and further on. And so I think that Criterion will probably have that exact same mindset too, where the people who are going into that content first likely aren't going to clear it first, but they will be the most interesting thing on stream until someone gets a little bit further ahead.
I mean, yeah, viewers also typically just want to see whoever's the furthest in content.
Well,
when I remember top, I think when we turned it on, we were the furthest on Twitch.
Yeah.
There might have been one of the groups.
No,
on
we
Billy or
were the
something.
furthest by like one mechanic.
Yeah, I looked at the viewer count once, and it was like 1,000 people. And it was like, oh, it's just because we were the furthest. Like, we had not streamed at all. We had not done anything. Did not really advertise anything. It was just popped in there, but we were the furthest. When that ends, everybody clears out. And it's just that people want to see this, like, they want to see content. They want to see brand new stuff they haven't experienced yet, no one's seen yet. And everybody wants to be there being all in WoW together. It's because it can be really fun to sometimes see all the like interesting takes about how people think mechanics work in Twitch chat.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't there that meme where people would go like, people were right when somebody got to like the new phase, and then people leave when they wipe?
Yeah,
it's like the most BM thing in the world, but I always found that hilarious.
No, it's literally what people do. But I mean, and going in the world prog perspective here again about what we do with the production, everything is that we're putting the people who are the furthest ahead on stream as well, but we don't offer the full experience of their stream either. We're offering a commentary on something that's probably like at least a minor bit delay from what they would see if they went straight to their stream without the audio and the discussion of what they're actually hearing in most cases on their stream as well. So what they'll do is they'll look at our stream and be like, well, I want to watch this team and get into their heads and see what the mechanics are, and they'll go over to your stream and just listen to it as well. To hear what you guys are saying and things like that. It's such an interesting dynamic, the world race in Final Fantasy 14 right now, and I kind of like how it's working in comparison to like WoW races and everything else. And I think it does help promote all the hardcore prog teams that are streaming, and kind of push traffic their way. Even because right now, I could tell you if you're ahead on stream, unless if you're a popular streamer, they won't find you unless someone says it and word of mouth goes around and everything else. But it makes it pretty easy with, I guess, doing the stream that we do for it. Anyways, sorry. It's sort of a tangent. This is a World Prog stream anyways.
Tangents for days, dude.
Yeah, MogTalk, Mog Tangent. Huh?
You can't have a good stream without getting stun locked.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff is all like really interesting, and I think this, Criterion Dungeon overall is going to be a major player within the world race scene if they continue to do it even through the next expansion as well. I'm sure we're gonna know. Go ahead.
A testing. Oh, go on, Clees.
I don't know how many people take like the Criterion race in like the world like race thing, like the people doing it. don't know how seriously a lot
So-
of people take it,
No, they're not.
but
It's not the same level as Savage and Ultimate, but it's content for those players.
that's fair.
The people who participate in it, it's content for them. And then at some point, if they try to make it more appealing overall by adding that extra phase in there or something like that viewers would want to see, then it becomes more content for them as well. But right now, it's a success for me because the people who are involved and are racing want to race this content. And
Well,
so,
I think
go ahead.
I remember I spoke with different teams ahead of time because I was just wondering what's everybody doing, and some groups were taking a full 8 and a 9th, like they're just gonna get everybody together and they're gonna do their typical World Prog thing. Others wanted to do that, but not everybody was interested, so they're taking a subset of their team. Some weren't able to, like Aether Group 3. They wanted to, from what I could tell, but something happened last minute because of the date announcement being 5 days ahead of time.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody ever has
They had a
time
group.
to ask off in that case. They had a group.
Yeah.
There's 8 people in a team.
Well, I mean,
You can
there's
run
like,
2 groups.
depending on a
There's
team,
18
each 20,
people in their team,
right?
dude.
Yeah, but like you can run more than one.
Yeah.
But like, to me, I don't think anybody takes the race for this super seriously. But the way I've partly seen it is that it's a good time to try something different. Because when you're in actual Savage or Ultimate, people don't usually try something different. They don't do anything different. They stick to what they know. You don't really experiment, and it only comes once every like 8 months. You don't get a lot of practice. Now's your time to do something different to see how it works out.
Well, I mean, like in that same vein, you could argue that most people take Ultimate as serious and Savage is not serious, right? There is like sort of a
there's
level.
definitely it's a smaller subset of people, I think, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes down. Criterion drops off completely, but there's some people who might take it seriously, but not as much, definitely. Especially since it's newer and it's not like established as well. But I do think, out of everyone, they take Ultimate the most serious, then Savage a little bit less serious, even though it's still taken seriously. And in Criterion, not really that serious at all, but it's still content they want to do, and it's fun. And they could take the most, like you were saying, Sindalf, they could take risk with trying something new or different.
Yeah, like going off what Sindalf said, we I don't know if I said this, but we didn't look at any streams at
Yeah,
all
you said that.
during
Yeah,
our
yeah,
party.
yeah.
Yeah, like that, like usually that would be like I would be watching like any stream and like forwarding stress, but this time we just decided like, you know what, let's just try it and see what happens.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were racing, dude.
Yeah,
Fuck?
and I mean,
I honestly I thought we were just out of it. Like,
Yeah, I thought we were just frogging. Like,
I mean, you
No
were
stress?
racing because someone signed up
I
and
mean,
put.
quote unquote
he
racing,
didn't
like
let us know. He didn't let us know that he signed up.
Oh, I
Like,
thought it was a
nobody-
given. I thought
I
it
mean,
was a given.
it was kind of a given, but like
Yeah.
like when I
I
say
didn't-
like I didn't think we were racing, it's more like I thought that we were completely like behind everyone else. That it didn't really
Yeah.
matter.
Oh no, I literally didn't have the
It's
race
so-
mindset at all. I didn't even food prep or sleep prep.
Here's the
I mean,
thing.
to be fair, I literally like the day before I was like, oh, I finished all my work early. I can actually be here for Criterion 6.
Yeah, fuck.
The hardest thing about this content is it's so hard to know who's ahead. It's like so difficult to know who's actually ahead. Because
Is it though?
yeah,
I think if
go ahead.
you ignore the Savage streamers, right?
Yeah.
Like, people just skip the mechanics in normal mode, and they're like, "Oh, we're done. We'll just go do it in Savage." Those guys are not ahead.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a clear cut, but all the people who are practicing normal, you can kind of guess, oh, look, these guys seem to be more consistent. These guys seem to be pretty consistent as well. But, I mean, there's a lot of teams who got into Savage maybe a little bit earlier than you did, but they practiced on normal a lot. And they were doing okay through normal, I think, for the most part. But they would wipe to the last boss. There's a lot of people who wiped to the last boss a handful of times before you guys went in and cleared it.
Makes things more exciting.
It's
I
the
mean, it
force in the
does.
air.
But it's, again,
Slow
it's
and steady.
it's very difficult to track.
Yeah, I understand.
It's very, very difficult to track. And so all you could really do is just say that these people have cleared normal mode first, and so they have had the most time to practice. That's it. And when people are clearing within minutes of each other, maybe they take a 5-minute break longer than the other team, or maybe they're just, you know, I don't know. It's tough. But it's still fun to experience and do and just see who clears it first. Um, so I will say tracking wise, someone did reach out to me and we're going to try to get a tool hopefully put together that makes this stuff a lot easier. Not a third party tool, so you wouldn't download it or anything, but like a website where you could log in, link your lodestone character to it, and then just like be logged in, have this thing on the side, and when you clear a boss, you just click clear on it, and then it sends information to our tracker team to verify.
Second party tool.
I guess a website. It's a website. Yeah, that's all it is. A website on the side.
I mean, technically that is still a third party tool, but yeah, it's whatever.
I mean, then Google spreadsheets and Google Forms
Exactly,
are too,
dude.
right?
That's an entire can of worms that I could talk about for like 3 hours, but let's not.
You know the computer you're using right now is not made by strangers.
I feel like this falls into the acceptable area. All right, so it doesn't inject anything or pull anything from the client, and then that's okay. So the idea is that
he said this is a dumb conversation himself. He's like, "This is really dumb. We're not having this."
But I mean, I'm hoping that we could do that, so it would make it easier for everybody to have like a hopefully friendly, accepted way from Square Enix of tracking and recording this stuff in comparison to what the easy way would be. But this is impossible. This race is literally impossible to not impossible to track, but very difficult to track. I guess it's the right wording, because just it's all over the place. It's fucking all over.
It's literally impossible.
Yeah, in a way. But you could get a high percentage of accuracy. I mean, after the first clear happens, you're like, well, fuck, dude, what do I do? Do I just sit here and watch 100 streams and just hope that you see it? People can kind of report their clears and everything else, but how accurate is that to all the other teams that have already cleared it and they didn't report it and everything? There's not a clear divide here that makes it very easy to track. But I'm hoping with making this website and everything else, maybe we can experiment with the next one and make it easier to track in the future.
Because I know she didn't update the sheet at all.
I mean, I had someone else do it, and everyone kind of passed out and clocked out immediately after the race ended. I was up for about 48 hours by the time that we ended stream, so
That's a little too much.
Yeah, I was doing all the production for it because since these are smaller events, there's no extra real money from it to pay people to do production, like from ads or anything else. So I can't really make it as good as like the Savage one or the Ultimate one or anything like that. I have a production server that I was managing, sort of, in a way. I call it a production server, but I mean it's a
laptop
computer
on the site.
It's a computer with OBS open on it that I log in with Parsec and manage it in a way. So there was a lot of work that went into it that I had to try to figure out before the event happened. I feel proud about it, but we'll see if we do it for the next one or not. It makes, again, throwing tracking into it on the extra part of all this stuff made it very difficult, but that's why we didn't take it as seriously. Like the last Criterion race, it's on a spreadsheet as well, but I don't have it hosted officially anywhere because we're still trying to figure out what this content really means for the race. I think for the next one, we should have it down a little bit more, though.
I think you should probably treat it the same way the Raiders do. Time to try something new.
Time to try something new.
It's the experimentation phase.
Yeah.
Before you do the real thing.
You know, we've gone on a tangent for quite a long time, and we haven't talked about the third boss yet.
Okay. First of all, before we talk about the third boss, the second set of trash is the hardest part of Savage.
Do you think so?
It's fun though.
No, I mean it's mostly because you can't really practice it in normal, and it's hard.
It is.
Yeah.
To get it down perfectly without getting hit by a single thing, that is very hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to throw that in because it actually is really hard.
Yeah.
Even if you use all your cooldowns and like the tank busters and stuff, that thing just destroys you.
I mean, maybe you just need a better healer. I don't know.
No, you need to use your invuln.
Hey,
something I never use.
I'm still here.
Oh shit! Sorry. No, it's tough.
Third boss. I liked the third boss. I think I usually tend to like bosses that let you have really open-ended mechanics, and I think the clones were kind of like that, but not really.
You're close. There are different ways of handling them if you wanted to, but at the end of the day, it's up to the player choice to do it the way you want to, which I do like. I like having options.
That's why I think something like Silky in the previous Criterion dungeon is probably one of the best encounters that the game has ever released, because you have so much player agency in that fight that it's incredible. You could have like completely different ways of doing it. And while I do think that like the third boss's clones are kind of like that, there's maybe like 3 or 4 good strategies.
Well,
Like I think I saw most groups doing like the same thing.
like they developed the exact same strategy.
Yeah.
Third means, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of interesting. The third one, I think the thing that, okay, real quick, can you explain how the clones turn?
What do you mean?
Oh, they tether to you,
Mm-hmm.
and then they will teleport behind you.
Mhm.
So
They
if
don't
I'm-
really turn.
Yeah,
They
so
don't.
if
Yeah,
I'm-
it depends
don't
on your
turn.
own. It depends on your own facing.
Okay.
Yeah. So they don't dash at you. They literally teleport behind you. So I could be to the left of it, but if I'm facing north, it'll teleport behind you. So they're basically they're like your samurai high schooler who teleports behind you, nothing personnel kid.
But yeah,
Okay,
so you
okay.
can
And then
basically
they-
like imagine that like the mark the samurai has over their head is over your head, and that's basically how he's gonna slash.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. But as you were saying there, you wouldn't consider this the best fight of the 3. Please, is that right?
I think I still like the second one more,
Okay.
but I would put them pretty close together.
I mean, does everybody feel that exact same way?
Yeah, I really like the third boss personally because it feels at least dynamic enough that it's different every single time you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like the crazy amount of dodging with the water later, even though everyone hates that.
The water, everyone kept saying that was so easy to do, but I look at it, I'm like, nah, that doesn't seem very easy.
It is not.
It's easy about like
It's easy, and then you have to remember you have to do the boss slashes after.
yeah, that too.
And if you miss like the first tell, you're fucked. Or you're dead.
Yeah,
It's more like for example, like there's like really bad patterns you can get if like the parallel lines go off at like first and second, and then you're
Mhm.
having to like you have to like move really far out to be able to like have time to dodge the diagonals when they come out as well, or just be a fucking snapshot god.
It
Mhm.
can be difficult with all the like markers and just visual clutter to the point where you don't even know what you're looking at. You're just kind of guessing based off of how they're coming in. But
Mhm.
it's also less of a problem when you just lose uptime. Like whenever I just decide to run off the boss for a moment, just focus on dodging, try to keep uptime the whole time and never like jump off that thing.
Mechanics are so much easier if you don't have to keep uptime.
Yeah,
That's why double range is
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah, that's
Double
why
range is strong for that reason.
range is strong.
Yeah. I mean,
Thankfully, it doesn't kill you if you put mid up.
how do you feel about the overall job selection going into this as well? Do you feel like there's an imbalance between jobs coming here? I mean, it sounds like you're definitely partial double range. But
Well, that's just what we had.
do you feel like there is a wrong choice of jobs for this content?
Black mage.
Black Mage?
Don't bring black mage for this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't
or in
bring
Most
it up.
general.
most striking example of why you don't bring black mage is the first boss where you had to dodge the line AoEs. I saw Svi when we did our normal reclear, and the ley lines timing was like perfectly synced with having to do that mechanic.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Nice.
I wouldn't bring Black Mage. I wouldn't bring a Dark Knight. I learned that in the
It's-
first Criterion. Dark Knight is not good for this content at all. It is.
It's
Mhm.
Play warrior.
it's definitely different than like Savage because you have to exclude a role. You either bring a fizz range or magic melee or fizz
It's
range
true.
melee, And because of the way that Criterion like kind of like balances your DPS based on your jobs, it's usually not really a DPS issue. That's why I think double range in general is just a lot stronger.
Do you think they're gonna get rid of sorry, tangent, of the separation of physical and magical range as a role?
I mean, if they did that, they would have to do a lot to like the damage of those rolls, because I think like the only reason you would bring a fizz range is because of like the bonus you get.
You think fizz ranges are that's their only benefit right now to normal
If
raider?
that bonus didn't exist, I would see a lot more double caster comps, I think.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like you'd see people, you pretty much always take a black mage and then one other thing, because that fizz range just does not offer enough unless it's in certain situations.
It offers you the most consistent player in that role, out of every other role, because it's the easiest and lowest commitment to the damage.
Okay.
The one other thing is maybe like raid CDs. I don't think that would be like that big an issue to figure it out without it.
Got it.
Your range play should basically never die to a mechanic once you've figured it out, or anything at all, really. That's what I think a range player brings.
Range players die to a lot of mechanics in the groups that I play with.
Because you took the range player because the player played range because they knew they could get into a better static.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to play it. Everyone wants to play melee.
Is that true? I have absolutely zero
I don't think
interest
everyone
in
wants
playing
to play melee, but
Not true.
There's a lot of players who just
I know that
all they want to play is melee.
I think like 90% of the groups I've played with, nobody wants to be the fizz.
During the groups I've been in, everyone wants to play melee. Nobody wants to play all those other classes. They're just not as fun.
What do you mean, dude?
No one wants to play fizz range. No one wants to play caster unless it's black mage.
Yeah, I
And
played
then
this game because I
everyone
want to
else
play dancer. That's it.
Yeah,
To be
you're
fair,
an
the
exception.
little mini game is pretty fun.
Hmm.
You never press the same button
Yeah,
every single pull.
dynamic movement.
Yeah. I mean, I play healer, but that's only because of Party Finder, and I enjoy it in Party Finder.
But yeah, I mean, you know,
That's how every healer player plays. They play it because they have to, not because they want to.
Well, no, I play it because I want to. I do play it because I want to. I want to do it in Party Finder, and that's a whole different conversation.
To go back to the original point, yeah, I think like not splitting them would require them to like buff the damage of fizz range by a decent amount.
Yeah, I can see
You're
that.
saying give them cast bars.
Or like, yes, add first of all, add cast bars back.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, they need to like either make their personal DPS higher or the DPS they give out higher. Like Bard's song, instead of being like fucking, what is it, like 4% or something? It's 1%. You make it something like it has to go higher if you want to get rid of that percentage thing.
Mm-hmm. You know, honestly, what about, real quick, before, I feel like we're skipping over to third fight a bit, but it doesn't sound like you guys were like too interested.
I'm interested.
Overall.
It was pretty easy for us, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the third fight is pretty straightforward. It took you a while to kind of get the samurai turning in your head, because it's something that they haven't really done before. Where like the boss like turns themselves and then like does that based on like where it's turning, I think.
The people in this group are fucking insane that they were like, oh yeah, I can figure out where to go without having to turn my camera.
I mean, you had a lot of damage downs in there, Sindalf, on that last boss.
On the Savage clear. And because I can't remember. I have a very, very poor memory.
Okay, fair.
I mean, you watch Narlock stream, right, Sindalf?
Yeah, he's got a good memory.
I feel like he knows where to go even before the slashes happen, like for the next 2 steps.
I think there is
because he actually has a brain. I don't.
I think there's like some pattern, like you can't have like 3 of the same color. Like I haven't seen that, but I think that's like the only real pattern I've noticed. So, like if you get like 2 waters, you know, the third one's gonna be out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was cool. I always like them when they introduce something completely new. I don't think they've done something like that, right? Let's correct me if I'm wrong.
Not that I remember.
Like they've done mechanics based on where you're facing, and they've done mechanics on where the boss is facing, but not where the boss turns and it does its facing again.
P12? P12?
P12.
I mean, it only turns backwards.
It
but
only turns back and forth. Yeah, they've
Yeah.
done something like that. Okay, yeah.
Kind
it's
of.
designed
But
to-
it's a little different.
It's supposed to make it easier, isn't it? 'Cause doesn't the boss always face away from you? Or am I misremembering?
Hmm?
Like if you're on the left flank, he's going to turn,
Right.
what is it, counterclockwise, right? Like away from you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's supposed to make it easier.
Mm.
Yeah, because you can. That's what I meant by like you can look at. You can turn your camera to always be looking at the boss between every one, and you know if the next thing is like left out, I would go left
You
out
just go
based
left,
off of my
yeah.
camera facing.
Or if
Yeah.
it's front, if it's front, like no matter what, you always run through the boss the next time. So, like you don't really need to care about where the boss is facing because you should know beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
the main reason I wanted to tidy up the conversation on third boss is because I thought about it. I actually do want to hear your thoughts and predictions on FanFest announcements in the way that they're going to maybe take some of the PvE content going forward in 7.0. So that's why I want to make sure we're good on the third boss, because I really want to talk about that. I do.
All right, here we go. I'm
Well,
full blue fever here. Final
Okay.
Fantasy patch 8.0. They're skipping 7 because I forgot we're not in 7.0.
Oh yeah.
Just fucking, what is it, like, just find 2 words, like, you know, like water sitter. That's the new expansion. I mean, I'm looking
Oh,
at water
it's
and I'm
expansion
getting
names is what you're
Yeah,
going for
yeah.
right now.
Noun, verb.
noun,
What's,
verb.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Is
but
it-
like
but
to be
isn't
real,
the new expansion name called Mistwalker? Did you not
Mist-
read the 4chan leaks?
Mistwalker. I don't
Mhm.
even.
It's got to be
I-
something about adventuring, right? Because
It's
it's
gonna
like
be
a
like
whole new start or whatever.
Farlander or something. I don't know, but like
Oh.
that's beside the point. To be serious,
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna see. I mean, in FanFest, I think we're just gonna see like announcement name. I mean, the expansion name, a little teaser, maybe a brief overview of where we're going, and that's about all I expect.
Well, yeah, we're getting the first FanFest, so we're not going to get much information.
Yeah,
We have to wait until
it's
Very
going to
little.
be just like the. It's gonna be like just like the challenging new dungeons, vast new areas, and yeah, it'll be stuff like that.
We're gonna get like a mini video if I remember right.
Yeah, we get
The
like a little
title-
the first part of the trailer.
title, maybe a little bit of the theme, but without really telling us where we're going. Unless they do tell us
City.
and then they
We're going to
tell
Mirror
you
City. You heard it here
how
first.
we're getting there, we have no idea.
You don't think that they're gonna,
kind of
because they
it.
do talk about Savage every once in a while, right?
They do it every once in a while. They
say-
talk about their raid.
They say Savage is coming out. This is going to be our theme and everything. And every once in a while, they'll give an extra detail. I think I'm trying to remember about how they might take the direction of that, or how they might change it a little bit, or something of that nature, or why this is interesting. Outside of like the story stuff, they did. I think they have a couple of times just said, "Hey, La Habrea, we can't. It's too story related. We can't talk about it anymore," and they've just skipped over it. I think they kind of did that maybe with Shadowbringers a bit, and they just showed an image of Gaia, and that was all they did.
No
Yeah,
more is
it's like it's a little weird because the last FanFest they did was like online,
Right.
all, so we didn't really get like the typical like NAEU JP thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think we're just gonna get like at most like the announcement of like where we're going,
Okay.
or just like a general theme of it. But other than that, like there might be Yoshida might come out with a shirt with some like cosmic
Right.
language that some genius is gonna decipher. I still don't understand how they figured out Sam Raimi. It's bothered me for years.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty
But
good.
yeah, I don't think I'm really expecting much outside of that. I will be there screaming like "Let's go!" though, because
Are all of you guys going to FanFest? Yeah.
No, just
No.
Clees and I.
I think it's just me and Sindalf in this call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't get a ticket.
Okay. Okay. Well, Clees, Sindalf, make sure you find me at some point.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah. Please, yeah. And not like last time when I think Fold brought Clees up, and then
Yeah,
like, look at this guy. This guy that did the Gratz JP.
It was the most awkward thing. It was. I was literally just thrown in front of you. It's like, hi.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, cool. No, I wasn't expecting it at all. Of course, that's what I love that shit. Is meeting people, and I don't. Here's the thing, like everybody fucking knows what I look like, but I don't know what half the motherfuckers that raid look like.
Look exactly like I look in my profile picture.
I believe it, right?
What if everyone just wears like their anime avatar masks? Then you would recognize them.
Fucking big ass like
It's
you.
true. Or you know,
I hate
just
how well that would work.
some people wear jerseys and they put their names on it. You know.
I mean, to be fair, last FanFest, I used to carry around a little Ramu plushie, and that's how people knew who I was.
Oh, okay.
I could wear my Elysium t-shirt.
Yeah,
I don't
that'd be
think it
good.
fits though.
That'd be good. I mean, Sindalf, you're doing some face streams recently, so you kind of.
Everyone knows what I look like.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different, but I think there's just so many people out there. Like I literally just don't know who people are until they come to me and tell me. So I hope people do that. I feel bad when people are like, oh yeah, I saw you but I didn't say anything. I just whatever. I was too shy. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get
That
it.
one
Yeah,
guy
that's
in your
it.
Twitch chat who's gonna come say hi, and you're gonna say he's gonna be like, oh, I'm in your chat all the time, and you just don't remember.
Oh, you don't remember? I mean, it happens.
That moment's gonna happen.
It happens
100%.
100%. That stuff happens all the time. And I feel miserable about it. But I mean, it's okay. I think most people understand too. Like someone's gonna come up and be like, "Hey, I'm Kira Sheeran." I'm like, "Who?
Ooh,
Who's
ready for
that?"
that.
WH Omega lol.
Yeah, I really don't know who that person is. Sorry. But yeah, no, great. Thanks for watching. You know, man, I appreciate it.
I'm just really bad with names.
Yeah.
Really, really bad with names. Especially when somebody doesn't use the same name for like Twitch and like their in-game name.
Yeah.
And on Discord, it gets worse. It's so much harder.
I blank on that stuff too. I'm gonna be honest. People who would come up and tell me there's no way that I wouldn't know who they are. Just for some reason, my mind isn't functioning and processing the relation of name to person and where they're from because I've already been thinking about so many other things that day. I feel bad about that too, but.
Aren't you doing commentary at FanFest?
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna do the Crystalline Conflict commentary on Saturday, and so I'm hoping. Clees, Sindalf, and whoever else might be going, do me a favor and just go and watch it, even if you don't care for Crystalline Conflict. Just like show up, just so you can like scream when I go on stage. And
I got you. I got you.
I just appreciate it. I don't. It's already awkward in a way.
I'll have the online stream like rooting for you too, dude.
Okay, that'd be appreciated. Yeah. Just because I want Square Enix to feel confident about bringing in people from the Final Fantasy XIV community to do things like their events and stuff. Like this has been something I don't know. Does BlizzCon do this where they bring in content creators to like host panels and stuff and everything? I feel like that would be.
I'm not the right
They
person for
should.
this, but
Yeah, I feel like that's something that would be letting like people in the community come up that they can be like, well, we can kind of trust these people not to be horrible on a public platform, and put them out there to talk to people and stuff, and make it more than just like a handful of panels. Make it to where there's like a larger overall event where there's a second stage, third stage, whatever, and people are kind of just doing stuff and having fun with it. I think that would be pretty cool.
While you're there, do you get to interview any of the dev team, like Yoshi P or anything?
I don't think
I assume
so.
you get to meet him at some point, but
Yeah, I've met him plenty of times. I've interviewed him plenty of times, but I don't have
time to get
currently
another one.
any access to an interview with him or anyone. So,
Now is your time to invite him on the podcast.
well, here's the thing. Send off. I think you have ruined my opportunity on that happening, and it's okay. I'm fine with it.
Not my fault.
You know,
I want to say hi to him, but if he knows
like-
who I am, I feel like he's just gonna glare angrily at me.
Yeah,
You're
that's
that guy.
I can
Permanent
never I
shit
can
list.
never tell Yoshida who I am, because if not, like, he's literally just going to like punch me with like his 5 rings or something.
I want to ask him for waymarks back.
To give us a ping system.
See, here's the thing, and he's going to be, and honestly, Clees has been to Sindalf. Have you been to a FanFest before? I can't remember.
Yes,
Yeah, he
I
went
went
to
the
the
previous
last
year.
one.
Okay. Because he stops just in the middle of the hallway and stuff, and talks to people and says
Yeah.
hi and like everything. It's not too hard to grab him.
Yeah,
Every once in a while he has to run, but yeah.
I did actually, like, in last FanFest, I met Nakagawa, I think that's who his name was, who did, like, you know, it's like, oh, I'm a big fan of like Ubu or whatever, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Find the top guy and just be like, you made some really fun content. However,
However,
it's too-
You know what's funny is that you guys might not think that he knows, like a handful. Well, he knows a lot of people who do the world race stuff.
I know, yeah, I know he knows.
Yeah,
I've,
he knows.
I've heard all that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So if
it's
you
it's
tried to
really-
tell him, he would know.
It's really interesting when you think about it, because it's like, you know that the dev team's paying attention, and you know that they know everybody. They have, from what I've been told, like, they have files on people. They pay
They
attention.
have files of I don't know about
I mean,
files.
like they kind of need to know who, like, the streamers are, who
Right.
the influencers are, because eventually they come to, like, the media tour, and they have to invite people, and they have to get into different, like, crowds and stuff, like, not just for, like, stuff like rating. Obviously, you want to get the
Mhm.
content creators, you want to get people who are actually going to make things on it, and then if they ever do an event, they need people to invite. They want to know who the community's listening to for certain things. Like, they have to, if they want to know their community and know their game, they kind of have to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yeah.
Like, it's a requirement.
that's what the
as a
community
business.
reps are for.
Community
yeah,
reps
but those
do, yeah.
community reps will also eventually change. Like, some people will quit, some people will be brought in, and unless you actually have that, quote, file on hand, you just have to hope they know.
You know what's funny? The community team turnover is actually. I mean, there are
Small,
people.
right?
It's not that there's a lot of people who've been there like for a very, very long time, and I know them and I've talked to them, and they're all. I believe they're all awesome people. Right?
I did Final Coil with their head of community NNA, Ban, him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he was in BG for a short amount of time. And I remember he, like, back then they had to post stuff on Lodestone, like, manually or something.
Oh.
And so it was like 6 a.m. and we're like, okay, we're gonna keep you awake, and we're dragging you into UCOB, and we're doing, not UCOB, FCOB, and we're doing like 7-man clears to get him through on like a random day.
Mm.
He's a cool guy.
Oh, they're all really cool. Or else, you know, of course I wouldn't be going to FanFest if I didn't think these guys were good people either. I don't know. I've had the opportunity and luck to be able to talk to them, to be able to know them personally enough to think they're good people. But I do think as well, like going through just FanFest in general, I just hope that like they do think positively about the people, the content creators, and everything that are going there as well, and try to involve them in the events a little bit more too. Because I think that would be really cool. And so that's why I'm like, hey, when I go on stage, cheer, be like, yay! All right, that'd be great. So
I would like to see more content creator stuff at FanFest. However, I think part of what SE's trying to do, or at least would be my thought process, is that they want to also provide an experience that only they can do. Because this is the time, once every 2-3 years, that they get to come out and do things. You can go to Twitch and see your favorite content creator anytime.
well,
But
yeah,
it would still be nice to see. Like, this is going to be our time to finally hear from some of the developers regarding like development of content. How do they do it? What is the process?
but you can see that on their live letters too when they do that, right?
You can, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
there's sometimes more in-depth questions like that.
Like they did, they once had that like battle design panel, which was
Yeah.
really cool.
That's always cool. I like that.
yeah, I mean they do that sometimes again on live letters, right? Not as much. But they do it with, they've done it with like story and glamour and UI and
Yeah.
things like that. Like they've done a handful of different things with it.
I want to I really want to know how they handle stuff like feedback sometimes.
Yeah.
Because Yoshi P even said at the very something that still rings true is that the group that is the loudest is usually just those who hate it the most and complain the most. He said something like that in ARR. So you have to look at more than that.
Yeah. You got to look at stats and numbers and actual like information outside of just like the people who are actually talking. Because I mean, you take that stuff. Feedback needs to be taken with always some level of grain of salt to it, right?
Yeah.
So.
But then there's things like I'd want to know what the guy who made Top. He also made T, correct, Clees?
I want to say yes.
Yeah.
No.
So, like, a lot of people complained T was too easy, and then Top gets complaints that it's too hard. Also, there's complaints about P1 being boring, but the rest of the phase, like, I think Top's great. Beyond P1, I actually really like it, and I'm being curious about it because how do they take that feedback and use it to create the next bit of content? What were they thinking in some ways? Like, DSR, I think, is intended to be harder than Top. But I think almost most people will tell you Top is harder than DSR. So what's, like, the design philosophy there? Why does SE seem to think that? And then there's just how is the person who made T, a fight that people generally think is pretty easy, capable of creating Top? To me, that says he made a much harder fight for T, I mean, at one point. And there is evidence to suggest that the fight was dialed back a bit. And I'd be curious to know if, like, somebody ever got them in an interview room to, like, really go into deep dive as to, like, how does this happen? How do you iterate on these things? Because you also have to make something that's fun at the same time, but you can't spend forever on it because at some point you're going to get to a point and it's like, okay, what we got's got to ship out. And they have to know it's fun. And the only testing they're going to get is internally,
right?
Not externally. Like, there's a lot of interesting things there that I would love to see more info on.
And I think it's media tour is usually when that stuff can really get ground out, right? Because they do invite content creators and everything to that, and they invite press and everything. But I think that's when you get the most questions. And so, write it down, Sindalf, somewhere. Edited. If I get lucky enough to be able to be invited to one of those things again, I will add some of these questions to my list of questions I would ask. Right.
I will try to keep that in mind. I have my thoughts that if I ever get invited to a media tour, which will be never, they'll never invite me.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a bunch of, like, endgame raiders and stuff and be like, okay, what are the questions that we've always wanted to ask?
They all forget.
That we never get.
They all forget and they all blank out. And, like, I've done this before and, like, I get a couple of questions, right?
You gotta ask more than once. Because the first time they definitely will forget.
It's, like, difficult because you have to ask a question that they're not gonna, like, skirt by and say either we're looking into it or something that they're just not gonna say.
That's tough.
Don't tell me console limitations. PS3 limitations is the answer.
Yeah. Anyways, though, to go back to the content creator thing, just one comment. I know most people go for the expansion release and to be in an environment with their friends. That's why they go. And the developers are there, and it's exciting to see developers and everything else. But some people are just, even though the content creators are not like the goal, I mean, they're part of the community and part of what happens with Final Fantasy 14. While there's not a lot of content out there, there's people who are out there trying to make something of content, right, and keep people engaged and all other stuff. And that's kind of what could happen with FanFest. You could expand upon it instead of just having 4 or 5 panels a day. You can have multiple panels throughout the entire thing, and then even though someone doesn't want to go to this panel, maybe they want to go to this panel, kind of thing.
Yeah, that would be very nice.
I think that would see that. Just create extra content that would be a low cost because most content creators would do it just to do it. So, that being said, though, I do think that next week is going to be insane. It's going to be absolutely insane for me. I'm excited for it. I hope everybody's excited for it. I'm excited to see what
P12S ahead of time.
Hopefully, I beat P12S on Monday. We'll see.
I will say that I am. It takes a very certain kind of stubbornness that is appealing that you were doing to go through PF like that? Because I know you could just ask, and people would carry you through.
I could
You'd get a clear and a weapon in no time.
I
But-
could have cleared this pretty quickly, but and I mean sometimes naturally that happens during stream anyways, right? And so like I start up the party finder. Usually the very beginning is just random people, but then someone tags along eventually, and it kind of grows and whatever else happens with that. But I never intentionally go out and say, "Hey, I need 7 people who can carry me through this fight," because there is this I don't know, sick satisfaction that I get out of doing it with random people and having those interactions. And then I'm going to keep having those interactions later. But I don't know. You don't get that anywhere else. All the sweaty people trying to clear it in Party Finder, all the craziness that happens with it, even though I don't clear it that fast, it's a lot of fun, and it's a whole experience.
And it's content.
And it's content, right? I mean, I don't think I would have ran into the whole controversy of if black mages should move for a mechanic where they're supposed to move for. I don't think
Fuck that.
Controversy.
the controversy. I didn't even realize it was. I didn't think, I wouldn't run into the tanks that are saying, "Hey, I haven't actually seen any of these mechanics that I said I would see for, but I'm using potions every single time, so that means I'm taking it seriously." Things like that. Just some really just weird, like this. The people are what make Party Finder. That's it. It's it.
I mean, I do some PF too. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Definitely very enjoyable.
Yeah. And it's the best content to heal because you use all of your tools and you have to use. It's reactive. You're reacting the entire fight. It's not going to be the same fight. When you get into a different group, because people are going to heal differently. People are going to mess up differently. And you have to know what to look out for. And you have to make up for different things. Like this group might need more damage. This group might need more zombieing through, but damage would be part of that as well at the end if they're zombieing through it. And when you can heal, when you can res, when you can to use certain things like LB timing, healer LB3 timing is actually pretty unique in certain fights too, about when's the right time to do it, right? If you hit it at the exact right point, then you could possibly still clear. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm really bad at this game that I have so much fun with it, but
I mean, it's a good way to improve.
Yeah.
I will say also people who are bad at the game often have a lot of fun playing the game a lot.
Yeah. So if you're enjoying the
still have
game,
a lot of people, they have, when that's the case, they get more satisfaction out of doing it because they can also see results of them getting better.
Yeah. So anyways, that all being said, going back, this is the final tangent of this show just because FanFest was coming up. Do you feel like we have any other big topics that we might have missed with Criterion? I think we hit it pretty well, though.
There is one that I wanted to bring up, or
Sure.
at least a statement, something I wanted to say.
Yeah.
So, after we cleared and other groups started clearing, I would go through streams, I would talk to some people in DMs who had also cleared, and something that I noticed is that everybody said they were tired. 10 hours in, they said they were tired. That's typically nothing for a actual Savage tier. But suddenly everybody's getting tired 10 hours in, when usually on Savage you go twice that length on the first day. You go 20 plus hours. But now you're tired after 10 hours? What changed?
Mental prep.
Well, didn't do any sleep prep.
I mean,
Yeah,
sleep prep
no mental
is the
prep,
thing.
and expectations that it could be done quicker.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. But the other aspect of it is I think part of it is because, one, there is a lot of mechanics happening at once. There's a lot to be looking at. There's not really you don't really get a break with this Criterion. It just keeps throwing things at you, especially while you're learning. And things like rotation and memory mechanics, in the third boss, that requires your full attention. You cannot sleep on that. Unless you're just built for that, you can't sleep on it. It's going to quickly mentally exhaust you doing that over and over again.
No, that makes sense.
And I felt like we had experienced that as well in the first Criterion. This one, I definitely started feeling tired. I started having a pounding headache. I didn't do sleep adjustment either, but I knew I could keep going for a while. But yeah, I remember I was speaking to someone from like Aether Group 3, and they even said that like once we cleared, like they knew they had to push through eventually. Like they were tired, but they had to push through. And the key words there is push through.
Yeah.
Because it seems like some people that I spoke to, other groups, like they wanted to throw in the towel at that point. Like they were done. Like it's already been cleared, they're kind of done at this point. Whereas others, they kept going through, but they were very visibly tired. You can open up their stream, they sound tired, they say they're tired. But it didn't last that long.
There's no plan for a second day on this as well. And so it's like
some of them did do a second day.
Oh,
yeah.
did they?
Yeah,
Yeah, like Neverland did.
Oh, they went to sleep and then woke back up and tried to clear it right after?
Yeah,
okay.
They woke back up and they killed it.
I think most teams were like, we have to push through. If we want to get first, it has to be cleared today. When it's done, we're not done until we can figure out how to get through this thing that we've been trying to get through forever. It's just the same fights over and over again. We know how to do it. We just mess up to one little mechanic and have to start back over, kind of thing like that. I don't know. I think you are right about it overall just being more exhausting to do.
Yeah, especially when you start entering Savage, with having no raise, that adds an extra level of intenseness to the fight. Like you have the intensity, you have the jitters coming in, especially since it's 20 minutes plus.
Yeah.
I don't think we really experienced a lot of that personally,
But
you did know, like the moment we entered the first boss, I think for like the first 20 minutes, like we were just feeling it a little bit, like okay, this is Savage, like this is real now, and it saps more energy out of you until you just adapt to that.
I definitely feel like we got lucky in some regards, because I don't think we ever fully experienced the mental fatigue that other groups were feeling running Savage for that long. Because without prog, it did kind of feel like we were making some sort of progress at all points in time, even if it was just like refining a strat or something else. And like by the time we cleared normal, everyone was kind of like high off the normal clear. Like, okay, we'll go into Savage now, and everyone's kind of confident in everything they're doing. And that worked out for us really well.
I knew once we entered Savage, like I the whole time through, I was like, okay, we're very behind. I'm surprised the fight hasn't even been killed yet. Has it been killed yet? It's like Clees said, I thought we were like 3 hours behind everybody else. But I knew.
I assumed it was cleared already.
Yeah, so did I actually.
Like
I thought it was cleared when we were on the second boss, to be honest. But I knew that, like, I could see this progress happening throughout the whole thing. There, we go through the first one shot, we go through the second boss 1 or 2 shot, pretty easy. We'd make it to the third, we just grind that out. I knew once we made it to Savage, that we're just gonna blast through it. And other groups that actually went through normal, I think it had the same thing. When I was speaking with AG3, they said, I think the first time they made it to the final phase, they timed out in Savage. Then the second time they cleared it, because they spent plenty of time in normal.
Yeah.
Like it was just all that prep work coming together at the very end.
Right. Yeah.
And on the topic of being tired, I know that at least for myself, that was one of the main things I personally tried to improve on coming out of top. Because top, there's a lot I did going into it to try and like do better, but I was very exhausted in top. And that was when a lot of the mistakes start coming in, is when you're tired. So I've tried to do more for my own health and wellness in order to be able to go longer. And that helped in this last tier. Until we hit like hour 22. Then it's all out the window. It was all out the window then. That was an absolute disaster. At that point.
Yeah.
25-hour raid to clear.
Did you guys
talk about that one?
Go ahead, Clees, yeah.
No, let's not talk about
No, do you guys all feel pretty much the same way, that there's a lot of fatigue just with doing this?
I think the main fatigue comes in if you're in Savage for too long. Like if you're in normal, you don't have that tenseness at all, right? It like you can fuck up and it's fine.
Right.
because you're still like practicing the mechanics, right? So if you spend more
Mhm.
time in normal, then when you get to Savage and you're like better, you have less like mental fatigue. You haven't
Right.
like felt as tense like for a while, etc., etc. I think that's also like a really big thing when it comes to Criterion. Probably
Mhm.
that makes it a little different from anything else.
Yeah, as long as you can make it past the ads. That's where
Right.
that's where the big tenseness comes in. It's like, oh, these ads are hell, and then once you're past there, it's like, oh, I know this. I've done this a million times.
Yeah.
It's like any other reclear.
Right. All right. Well, anyone else? Anything about Criterion you guys want to hit on before we close up the show?
When are you doing Criterion?
I
In
mean,
the
the
future,
normal mode
so-
isn't that bad.
Yeah, I'll probably do normal mode at some point. My big goal right now is to just get Savage down completely. I mean, being at Caloric 2, it's kind of like this needs to be my focus. And then with, I guess, the FanFest coming up and everything else, that's going to be completely my focus for the next week or so. And then I will probably go to when I'm like, hey, I need a break from Party Finder, because Party Finder is just where I get my joy out of Final Fantasy 14 right now. It really is. I know a lot of people are kind of burnt out on it overall, but luckily not me.
PF is fun.
It is so much fun. It is literally the most enjoyable thing for me in the game right now.
Can't get mad at PF at least. That's one of the things. Is like it's just random people can't get mad.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, it's a huge variety of different people coming with different dedications to the game, different opinions and thoughts about, where they should be on the game. And I have a couple hours, I have this amount of time to do this content. And everyone has a different attitude about getting pissed off if you don't get a first pull clean, right? All kinds of stuff. And it's fun to navigate. Again, the people of Party Finder more than the content itself. But that being said, yeah, that's going to be my focus, and then I'll probably throw that in there. I'll probably do Blue Mage at some point. I'll probably do a handful. I need to do some Palace of the Dead too, because I feel like the Necromancer title is kind of really good for a healer right now that heals in Party Finder.
When's Variety?
Variety is when Top's beaten.
Ooh, okay.
Top kills so much of my free extra time right now, even though it's only 3 nights a week.
You
It's
could also get a 7 other gamers to
I-
go through top.
I'm going to be honest. I have been definitely.
I've been thinking about it.
I've been thinking on it, but I do want
You're
to.
gonna be thinking about it when you're in P5. I'm telling you
Yeah.
that much. P5, the fight hasn't even started yet.
Yeah,
That's
but
the worst reality.
the group I'm with,
You're gonna
the gamers that I'm playing with, have been working pretty hard to kind of,
Mm-hmm.
do what they're doing, and so I kind of want to stay on track with them. If it falls apart, then that's what I'll do. But there's enough people who are like in that same state that I am that no one in my party has officially cleared that I know of yet. And I don't know if we'll get to the point to when we clear it that it will be all people. Like they might get it cleared in Party Finder because they are practicing in Party Finder and other things like that. But it is interesting to go through it with a group of people who haven't cleared it yet. And see what that would look like at the very end of the day. Very casual, super hardcore casual setting where you're only doing 9 hours a week.
I can't imagine. I'd lose my mind.
It's rough. But yeah,
Like,
after
when I wanna
that,
do something. I want to keep doing it until it's done.
yeah,
It's like an illness.
I will probably do Variety after that because that I do want to make sure I'm playing other games besides Final Fantasy.
All right, see you in Elden Ring.
Elden Ring, I have it bought, and I bought it right before my daughter was born, so I barely have been able to play it. I do want to get into that. Elden Ring is something that I want to do. Anyways, really fucking off topic right now. Sorry. That being said, we might as well go and start wrapping up things. Yeah. We might as well start wrapping things up. Guys, it's been a blast to have you on here. Congratulations on the victory too. I don't know if you guys have all filled out the form, but we'll get the headsets from Corsair, and thank you Corsair for giving those headsets. It was very last minute, trying to get some of that stuff together. But yeah, I'll get that over, and it only to the 4 people who cleared though.
That's okay.
Well,
Sorry.
All good.
If Vi or Clees want one, they can have mine.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's the other option
this
too,
is,
right?
This is what rips the static apart, dude.
You guys,
All over
I
from
truly
here.
believe
It's because of
But they-
Corsair.
in many ways the outside people contributed more than the actual players.
I mean, it is literally
Because
up
I
to the
know
team.
I
Yeah,
know
it's-
for
it's-
an app, the whole team, but yeah, I also know for a fact that we would have not gone first
Mhm.
if we had 2 groups running.
Hmm.
'Cause some of the stuff that was really helpful to us, of getting like info from either Clees or info from Vi's, that would not have happened.
Right, studying,
we had-
analyzing, and making
Yeah,
sense of
we would
everything.
have not
yeah.
have had that. We would have had certain mechanics we would have been weaker on and would have taken longer. I mean, we still had a 2-hour window left, but
Mhm.
there's a good chance it might not have worked out
Yeah,
if we had 2 groups running.
yeah. Well, yeah, and
What if scenario?
but yeah, and I think that you are absolutely right. But when we're dealing with rewards and metrics and understanding how many rewards to give, there's no way to calculate the outside members and their contributions
Oh,
to
yeah.
everything. Too. Yeah,
It's definitely rough.
yeah,
Because it's usually a variable amount.
yeah. But that all being said, you guys have been great to talk to. I mean, again, it's been over 2 hours. Definitely filled up a full show with this, and it kind of went by pretty fast. And I'm looking forward to seeing a couple of you guys, of course, at FanFest and everything. But before we leave, I do want to give you guys all a little bit of time to just say whatever you want to say. Like, if you want to say thanks to any shout outs to anyone in your group or anything, or anyone else, or any last couple words, and I'll go alphabetical here too. Ashe, is there anything you want to close off on?
Just shout out to Svi. I think he's still in the hospital.
Oh, is he?
He had like I think it was just like I don't remember, but he's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that was the thing. So, all right, yeah, shout out to Svi. Hope things are going okay for him then. All right, please.
Shout outs to Sidewalks for keeping me off the street.
God damn.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to find me in socials, it's Clees basically everywhere except for Twitter, where it's Clees with 5 E's.
Yeah, are you on Threads?
I am not on Threads. I don't want to install a Facebook app on my phone.
That's fair. That's fair. I kind of don't want to have a Twitter app on my phone either now, though.
That's
So
fair.
It's tough. It's tough.
Rough out there.
Shin?
Shout out to Vi and Clees. They did really well for us.
Okay. All right. Sindalf?
Yes, yeah. Shout out to the team. Everybody did a good job. Thanks, Rise and Clees as well for putting in the work on the edge, on like the side, especially you, Vi, because you didn't have to. You could have played if you wanted.
Okay.
And thanks as well for Rusty for covering all this, and the other teams who went through everything, because like it's not a race unless other people also do it. Otherwise, it doesn't really exist.
No, you're right. You're right.
But yeah, you can find me in on Sindalf on Twitter or on Twitch. Probably be streaming. Actually, I'll be streaming tomorrow. So yeah, at like 11 a.m. Got some reclears to do.
Okay. Okay. Vi?
My biggest shout out to you, Frosty, for always doing a stellar job at covering the world race for so many years.
Stellar's not the right word, but yeah. Doing it. Is that it, Vi?
Oh, shout out the rest of the team, I guess,
Yeah.
and Svi, wherever he may be. I think
Okay.
they all did exceptional.
That was good. Excellent. Excellent. On the very low chance that Yoshida or someone from the development team reads a translation or hears anything from the show at all, do any of you guys have anything you would want to say to him?
Sorry.
Sindalf does not speak for all of us, please.
Okay.
It was Sindalf,
I mean,
not
what?
Phantom. He's been wrongly accused.
No, I apologize for that the other time I was on. I said it was me, not Phantom, that said those words. And I mean no ill intent. It was just that came out.
Yeah.
And it does not... Sarcasm does not translate well to
Okay.
Japanese. Everybody knows that. Sarcasm does not translate well. And I am very sarcastic.
I feel
mean
you.
no ill intent. But I
Okay.
do sometimes feel like they're a little disconnected from the endgame
Okay.
community. But
All right,
that doesn't
all
really
right,
matter
all
because
right.
we are not everything. We are
Yeah.
not everything. They have to make the game for everyone, not just a subset of people. But I
Right.
will still complain because it's fun.
I mean, that's because it's your world. Yeah, I get it. Okay. Anyone else? Anything about Criterion, maybe?
It's good. Please keep doing it.
Okay.
Can the last one be a 48-man as well?
Let's just go the
Actually, I
opposite
will
way.
say,
Yeah.
48-man content is fucking sick, and I love it.
It is
I wanted
awesome. I actually can't wait for the next one because I've been talking to some people, and there's a good chance that there could be like a group that has like a bunch of world prog teams together, and it's just gonna. I
Like
really
super
want to.
team.
Well, that means you're gonna have a billion cooks in the kitchen.
Yep.
Oh
But
no!
I am really interested to see how the dynamic works.
That's just a simple macro problem.
And then, like-
you guys prep so we can divvy up responsibilities properly.
You get the super team together of 48 like really skilled players, and they're all just butting heads together the entire time, and then just some
It
other
never
team
works.
comes and wins, and then it fractures that entire community of world proggers
all
that you
over.
all.
Part of
Game's
being
tired,
good
raised,
at something
right.
is knowing when to be quiet.
It's true.
Yeah, there is a point when you got to know that's like, okay, in this situation, don't open your mouth, don't speak, just listen to what a dictator has to say, because if everybody's trying to stick their hands in it in like a 48-man trying to talk at the same time, coming up with strategies, it's just polluting it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna work. Listen to the commander in certain cases.
Okay.
But who is the commander? Who knows?
It's me. It's
That's
always
the
me.
that's
We
the
have to figure
battle.
that out.
I'm actually the commander of every single raid team in the game right now. Everything goes beyond my machinations, etc., etc. Okay, sorry, that was a bad joke. Or was it?
And the World Prog Cartel.
Everything's been fixed from the start.
Oh my gosh.
Why do you think all the top groups always have the same players in them?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you
It's
think.
all adding up.
Why do the people who are good at the game always end up on top?
All right. Well,
Hang on one second. I want to shout out more people.
go do it.
Iggy, Kyo, Rhaegar, and Yoko are the 4 members of our team
Okay.
who were not with us this time. They're doing their own thing.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, special shout out to, of course, all of you guys again. I think I want to see how this evolves for the next one, what it's going to look like. And I do want to do a quick shout out, of course, to all the teams as well. I do think that I had no clue what this was going to look like, how many players are going to be interested in everything. It all kind of came together in the end, where we saw the interest perk up. But it was just a difficult time for planning and everything else. But I am excited to see that there are so many people who are just wanting to see something happen, and allowed me to put some level of spotlight on it, even though it's not maybe as big of a spotlight as Savage or Ultimate. Again, this is something, if there's something that we could put together for the teams and the people who make World Prog happen, I'd like to do it. Unfortunately, Blue Mage content came out at the same time. I know a lot of people were very excited about what was going to happen with that too. But I can't track 2 races at the same time. So congratulations to the people who were doing sort of a race for Blue Mage during this period as well. Last bit for people who are just interested in MogTalk channel stuff here. We are going to have top prog tomorrow, P12S prog Monday, reclear, maybe some prog on Tuesday. Then the stream is going to be in this weird state of I have no clue what's going to happen, probably nothing, while I'm out at FanFest. I have debated trying to do a couple of live streams and stuff from the event, but I don't know if I have the confidence to say we will do something in the technology, at least that I'm bringing down. So we'll see if something can happen. If so, then maybe we'll have a couple of on venue just streams of just going around, maybe walking around or maybe talking to people or something while we're out there. But we'll see. It's just the technology portion is so difficult for remote streaming. And I don't have $3,000 to spend on a really good setup to make it happen. And yeah, you could use just a phone, turn it on, run with it. But the phones overheat. Phones run out of battery really quick. Data is sometimes unreliable. So I won't know until I'm there if things are working and where it will work at. So we have to kind of play it by ear and see how it goes.
This is the perfect opportunity to record a YouTube video.
Oh yeah,
preparing for the commentator, the behind-the-scenes look.
Preparing, yeah.
And then release that after.
I'm sure my NDA does not allow me to do that. But
well,
I don't know how much behind-the-scenes recording I will be allowed to do during that.
Just ask.
Yeah.
Be like, yo, can I do this? And they'll just be like, sure.
I'm sure, yeah.
That's how it'll
sure.
go.
But you have to ask higher up. If you ask community rep, they're gonna say no because they think the higher.
I have to ask Yoshida.
No. But if you ask Yoshida, he'll probably say yes.
Himself.
Because he'll just be like, the guy's just fucking making some content. Like, who
yeah.
cares?
Can you imagine? Like, I'm sitting, going backstage, we're setting up everything. Yoshida comes by, the translator's there, and then like, he's like, "Hey, thank you for doing this and everything. Yeah, it's good to see you. All that great stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, you too." It's like, and then I'm like, "Hey, well, I gotcha. Can I just record a whole bunch of shit and just use it for my own profit?"
Simply learn Japanese.
Yeah.
No, he can understand.
I mean, he can understand. Yeah, he can understand for the most part. Because most times when you interview, there's like a handful of times where it's not 100% true, or like if he's just waiting for a translator to clear up some things, maybe he didn't understand completely. But I have seen him in multiple situations where questions were asked, and he's like acknowledging it all, and he's understanding it, and he's prepping what he's going to say while the translator's translating.
That's honestly impressive. I don't know how people who speak 2 different languages do that. That sounds so hard.
Yeah.
The secret is to learn them as a kid.
Yeah, that's it.
I speak one language.
Yeah, I can barely speak one as well. You ever see me try to spell?
I speak one language.
Actually, I know
plus
Clees has seen me try to spell. I can't do it.
1% of a few languages. 1% of a few languages. Anyways, why haven't we ended the show yet, guys? Thanks for coming on the show. I hope you all have a wonderful time at FanFest for the ones that are going. Hope you have a wonderful time, everybody who's watching it remotely. And I don't think we'll have a MogTalk next weekend, but if we do, it'll be a live venue MogTalk where I will scrounge a couple of people together to see if we can talk about some stuff, if we can figure something out. Otherwise,
Sounds awesome.
It'd be great. I would love to do it, but I have to see if I can make it happen. I do have this. No, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not talking more. All right, we're in the show. Guys, thank you for watching. We'll do a raid here in just a second, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Everybody say bye and wave. Bye.
Bye. I'm waving at the screen.
Bye.